Chapter 52. Michael activated the lightning dash and moved towards the direction of Sunrise Sect like a bolt of lightning. The battle with the guards had made him completely understand his current combat strength and capabilities, so the battle had provided him with lots of insights on what part he needs to improve and focus on. For instance, he relied on the responsive too much and didn't have a powerful non-lethal attack. "Hey Gaia, do you think I beat them enough? How long will it take the guards to heal?" he asked while dashing towards the Sunrise Sect. "Why do you ask?" "Just curious," he said, but Gaia knew that he's brewing something evil in his mind and wanted more information from her. But when it comes to evil things, she liked the way he thinks and considered him a fellow evildoer. "I could have beat them more and crippled their cultivation. Still, you did mess them up, especially the last guard. Without any expensive healing pills or potions, it will at least take them a year to get out of the bed. Even then, they have to use a wheelchair or crutches for a couple of years to move around." He had no sympathy for the guards because they would have done the same to him if he was weak. "What if they took a healing potion brewed by me?" "Ha ha ha." Suddenly Gaia burst into evil laughter after hearing him. "You're planning to sell healing potions to the guards, the same guards who were beaten to half-death by you in the first place, aren't you?" "Yes, there's a 90% chance Jane would buy your healing potions if you sell them in Bradford. Considering the way she was looking at the guards when you were beating them, I can tell she has a soft spot for them and hate to see her guards broken. After all, she was the reason for their state. I have to tell you, human, I like the way you think." "Thank you, Snaky," he chuckled. "Don't call me that," she shouted at him, but he loved making her angry, so her shout only made him more amused. "So the last thing you said to her, is it true?" Although his bluff to Jane before leaving the scene was hushed, Gaia heard it loud and clear. "What do you think?" Instead of answering, he questioned her to see what's her take. After all, she wasn't a simple-minded person. "I think what you said is half true. You don't have a family, but you do, however, have someone powerful behind you. How else would you have learned alchemy and these weird spells you use?" He was slightly surprised by her answer because it was spot on. The only thing she missed was the powerful person behind him is not an actual person but the system, the almighty badass system. Of course, he wouldn't tell her about the system as only a stupid person would do that. "Am I right?" Gaia asked, and he sensed a tinge of proudness in her voice. Maybe, was his answer, and then in a few minutes, they reached the outskirts of the Sunrise Sect. The sect was located between Rivertown and Bradford. Until now, he didn't pay much mind to the location, but now he scanned everything while moving towards his house. It was a land with splendid mountain ranges and tall mountain peaks. The natural arch energy was rich on top of the mountain compared to the mountain base or foothills. Everywhere he turned, he could see nothing but lush green grasslands and various sizes of mountains. The scene vaguely resembled the Torre Castello of Italy, only greener and more hills. If this place was on Earth, it would have been a paradise for trekkers, but he wondered why or how many plants surrounding the sect buildings dried up. Adding to the beauty of the place, the mountains were surrounded by a faint fog. This place truly gave off a holy and noble feeling. This mountain range was called Scarlet Summit before it was named Sunrise Mountains by the founders of the Sunrise Sect. Countless mountain peaks spread across the mountain range. It was said that the founder of the Sunrise Sect had discovered an underground arch energy vein here, therefore, he occupied this place and established the Sunrise Sect. However, the energy vein of the Sunrise Sect grew weaker and weaker with time and became one of the many reasons for the sect's current situation. The energy vein, aside from it being able to provide the best cultivation environment and gather natural energies, was also a representation of fortune. Each of the three big sects had occupied land with energy veins. This was the reason why they were eternally prosperous and had produced countless geniuses. "This place is beautiful." Stopping at the foothill, he stared at the beautiful scenery filled with light fog and couldn't help but praise it. "Beautiful, but the arch energy density is weak. No wonder they can't produce powerful cultivators as the other three sects." Gaia's voice sounded in his mind, and her reaction was not like Michael's. Her experience was much richer compared to him. A small sect like the Sunrise Sect wasn't qualified to even be ranked in Nagaland. "Your Royal Highness, can you get out of my arm now?" Michael said sarcastically. "For a moment, you sounded nice," she growled and appeared before him in her human form. Both of them started moving to walk up the mountain. Brother Ghost, Master Ghost. Just when they had ascended half the mountain, they heard some shouts, and then a few girls dressed in orange clothes walked towards them with a wide smile on their faces. But when some of the girls saw Gaia standing beside him, their faces lost the color and seemed discouraged. Others quickly surrounded Gaia and curiously looked at her. "You must be Sister Elia, and who told you that?" She answered with her trademark scornful attitude as the girls laughed. "You just like Teacher Mark said, hee, and Brother Ghost, did you kill something on the way?" "You reek of blood," one of the girls asked, twitching her nose. "Just beat up some guards in Bradford," he casually said, and continued to walk up the mountain. "Yeah, the guards of Bradford Baron's daughter." The girls almost tripped when they heard Gaia and looked terrified. "Oh my God, you messed with evil Jane? Please tell me, you didn't do anything to her. We left that bitch unharmed, for now," she shamelessly boasted to the girls while he chose to remain silent rather than spoiling her moment. Since Gaia was said to be Ghost's friend, the girls didn't mock her for being a mortal girl as Gaia continued to describe everything that happened in Bradford and centered herself as the main character. "Then Ghost stopped me from teaching the guard a lesson. If he didn't stop me, I would have broken a few more bones in his body." He stopped walking and stared at her, but she gave him a "let me have my moment" look as he sighed and continued walking up the mountain. He was really surprised at her talent of lying so convincingly, as the girls had already started to believe that she fought the guards beside him despite being immortal. Looking at the girls eating out of her hands and Michael didn't say anything, Gaia lied through her teeth more boldly and enjoyed the worship and admiration in the girls' eyes. Although the girls were terrified at the fact these two just messed with one of the most influential and dangerous persons in Breedia, the girls couldn't help but admire Ghost's valor, and after Gaia's story, they also admired Gaia's courage. Of course, only Michael knew what Gaia boasted was nothing but hogwash. Chapter 53, Sect Leader Claire. Brother Ghost is back. Jack, who saw Michael at his home from a distance, quickly ran to Claire's mansion and informed her. Elder Reiner and Elder Mark were busy teaching the students as only Claire and Elder Miles left the building to go meet Ghost. Claire was in a good and lightened mood today as Elder Sandra got better after taking the pill concocted by Michael, but she didn't know her mood was going to hit rock bottom soon. While she and Elder Miles were following Jack to Michael's home, Michael was busy scrolling through the cloth section of the system. He loved black outfits, and even though he filtered the section to show only black ones, he was still left with a huge number of choices. Tuxedo? "I'll look like a freaking clown in this world if I wore a tuxedo." If he wore a tuxedo in this world, it would be like a teenage girl among a group of old women. He would be in the spotlight. He already had enough of attracting bad people like Jane. "System, do you have Black Panther outfit?" He excitedly asked the system after recalling the black outfit King T'Challa wore in the Black Panther movie. However, his smile froze on his face when the system showed him the Black Panther's vibranium armor that cost 500,000 badass points. Fortunately, he didn't want the vibranium outfit but the King T'Challa robes that he wore when T'Challa welcomed Bruce Banner to Wakanda. Not this armor system, the black robes he wore in the movie. Then in a few seconds, the outfit finally appeared in front of him with its stats. Item name, T'Challa King Robes. Durability, 1 year. Special traits, none. Price, 500 badass points. Awesome, for Wakanda. He laughed happily and equipped the outfit. The main reason for his purchase was the Neo costume had started to reek blood and he wore it ever since he came to this world, so it's time for him to make over. He then wore the Mark III grappling hook under his sleeve and left the system. Young Master Ghost is taking quite a long time to change dress, Ricky, who was in an elevated mood thinking about his monthly wage, said. Obviously young Master Ghost is rummaging through his clothes to choose one, Daniel replied as Gaia couldn't wait outside anymore and rushed into the house to drag him out. Why is he taking this long? Is he wearing makeup or something like girls? Gaia complained. She was not the kind of girl who would get ready for a few hours wearing all the makeup from top to bottom. When she was a princess, she rarely wore fancy cloth or makeup, and instead, she used the money allocated for her personal expense to bribe officials and ministers in Nagaland. Only because of these bribes, she was able to escape the prison before her stepmother, the current queen of Nagaland, orders her henchmen to kill her. She was already frustrated by waiting for him, and when she saw him standing before a mirror and checking his hair, she became furious. The way he looked at his reflection was like a husband enjoying his wife's beauty for the first time. "What the fuck are you doing?" she shouted. Although he could see himself in the system status window, looking through the mirror had a unique feel, and he loved what's in the mirror. "Geez, quit shouting and let me correct my hair." On Earth, he had short-length hair, but now, he had shoulder-length hair that required some time to tie back. "You're weird as hell, now come out. Everyone is waiting for you," he sighed and followed her back outside where he saw the girls narrating the events to sect leader Claire. Daniel and Ricky trembled as Claire looked pale. "Ghost, is it true? Did you attack Jane's guards?" Elder Miles asked as his voice broke in fear. Michael, however, seemed calm and smiled at Claire and Miles. "I didn't attack them, they attacked me first. I just defended myself," he said with a straight face, but it didn't reduce their fear. Sect leader Claire, "I want some herbs and items from the sect, can I take them?" While Claire was still in shock and Miles was searching for words, he calmly asked her. Yes, her mind was not properly processing what she had just heard and said instinctively. "Daniel, Ricky, go to Rivertown and hire me 2 Pegasi," he ordered his newly recruited henchmen as they quickly nodded despite their shock. He then tossed a pouch of coins and gestured at Jack to lead the way to the herbal garden. Gaia also ignored Elder Miles and the female disciples as she followed him behind. What's the point of worrying now? Besides, Michael hated to console Claire and Miles, and as far as he was concerned, these people needed to grow a spine. If one wanted to destroy this sect, they would have already done it. Brother Ghost. On their way to the herbal garden, Jack opened his mouth to ask something, but Michael stopped him midway. "Jack, no one is going to attack the sect, just let me deal with Jane." After following Jack for a few minutes, they reached the herbal garden. There were not many herbs, and even calling it a garden was a little too much. He could only see a bunch of pots with herbs, and most of the land was occupied by nothing but grass. Luckily, his expectation was low, and therefore, he didn't expect much from the garden. He went straight into the garden and picked all 20 herbs in the garden as Jack's mouth opened wide because it was all they had left. "Why are you acting so shocked? These are just common herbs." Plop. Gaia slapped the back of Jack's head and said while Michael finished picking all the herbs he needed to concoct some pills. Of course, it was not the pills he initially planned, but this would kickstart his master plan. Among the pills he could concoct and potions he could brew, he still needed some advice from Gaia. "Elia, follow me, I need to talk to you." Plop. "Ah!" Jack cried because she slapped Jack again for no reason before following Michael into the nearby building. "Human, what's the plan?" "I can do many things with these pills, but I think healing potions and revitalizing pills would bring more crowd and money." Revitalizing pills were pills that could cleanse the body to remove the impurities of the body, which would increase cultivation speed. By taking many less pure pills and potions, cultivators' bodies would have impurities in the bloodstream, and revitalizing pills were a way to remove the impurities. Good choices. What else can you make with them? Arch energy boosters, strength enhancements, and breast enlargement pills, which you desperately need. Okay, wait, what? She clenched her fist as a flash of anger and shock swept across her face. He loved making her angry by teasing her. Maybe he loved this a little too much. "You perverted asshole." She picked up the vase and threw it at him, aiming for his face, but he easily caught the vase. He then placed the vase near him. "I don't need those pills, you blind bastard." Despite being angry, she didn't miss the opportunity to proudly show off her ample bosom. Back to the topic at hand, which pills do you think would attract more crowds? It took several seconds to calm her down, and when she calmed down, she gave her opinion. "Whatever a 5-star alchemist makes, people would buy them, but considering we don't have many ingredients to work with, I'd recommend we sell healing potions, revitalizing pills, and arch energy boosters. Do you have a price point for all these pills?" She thought about the question regarding the prices for a few more seconds before answering it. Healing potions, 13,000 gold coins. Revitalizing pills can be sold for 11,000, and arch energy boosters, I'd say 10,000 each for Gaia. These amounts were simple, but for Michael, who barely had any gold coins left, became extremely happy. Besides, these were all just low-level pills and potions he had to make due to the lack of ingredients, but with enough badass points, he could buy rare herb seeds from the store and grow it in the sect rather than buying them from the stores. After seeing the outrageous price for the herbs in the system store, he decided that it would be cost-effective to buy the seeds that were way cheaper than the grown herbs and grow them in the sect's garden. The seed pack cost 6,000 badass points and an extra 1,000 for a compost that would make the herbs grow in 2 days. The seed pack sold by the system had various rare herbs and items to concoct and brew special pills and potions. Alright, Gaia, time to earn some sweet gold. Chapter 54, Young Master Ghost, Is This Your Shop? Amidst the busy bustling streets of Bradford, 2 Pegasuses, or Pegasi, landed on the street as 2 youngsters. One young girl and a man in his early 30s descended on the ground. Obviously, the 2 youngsters were Michael and Ricky, the young girl was Gaia and the last was Daniel. The one who asked the question was Ricky. Apparently, Ricky's eyes opened wide in surprise, but his surprised face turned gloomy after seeing the empty interior of the shop. Ricky, Daniel, instead of directly going into the store, Michael called his 2 henchmen to step closer to him. From here on, call me Master Ghost, dropped the young, it's really awkward, especially when you use it. He looked at Ricky when he said the last part. Michael would have ordered them to call him Sir, but apparently in this world, calling someone Master was more respectful than calling him Sir. For the young part, he felt awkward when someone called him Young Master, especially someone who was just a year or 2 older than him like Ricky. Huh? Ricky and Daniel tilted their heads and looked at him confused, but a few moments later, they nodded as they had no plan to go against his orders considering the pay he promised. And I'd like to hear them call me Your Royal Highness, Gaia mumbled under her breath. You 2 put the Pegasus on the side and clean this place. Then he bought out some decorative objects from his system store to decorate his store with. These include things like wallpaper, fancy sofa and chairs in a modern style, some decorative ornaments meant for the glass window, and some colorful lights, which had never been seen by anyone in the cultivation world before. You got another one? When he put down the sofa, Gaia couldn't hide her shock, but she quickly landed her butt into the fluffy sofa. Quit playing and come help me with this, you damn snake, he knocked on the head as she stood up, massaging her head where he knocked. Ah. Jerk. Daniel and Ricky missed this little quarrel as the 4 of them began to clean and decorate the store. With the help of the 2 hard-working henchmen and 1 lazy snake, he set about doing his job quickly. He dispersed all the beautiful, modern decorations around the store, illuminating the lights with arch energy. Little by little the people who were roaming on the streets noticed this and were surprised by what they had seen, but because of the dark curtains covering the windows, they still couldn't see clearly what's going on inside. They worked for almost 2 hours, and though some of the onlookers left, soon, many other people arrived. After all, these objects were all very fancy and included things that they had never laid eyes on before. Even though the decorations were temporary, he did his best to make the shop look the best. Finally, after all the decorations had been done, he bought a giant blank board and placed them on the ground. What do we name our shop? Of course, he needed a badass name for the shop because he didn't plan to be done with one shop but create an empire of businesses. Elia Alchemy. Elia Alchemy. Like the only kid who had done the homework, Gaia raised her arm and excitedly shouted. And just like the kids who never touched the homework, Ricky and Daniel gawked at each other awkwardly. You wish, humph, you have no taste, she pouted, but he ignored her and picked his mind for a better name. The Majestic. What? Who would name a single shop the Majestic? Gaia thought, and even the 2 henchmen frowned. Yes, we named this shop the Majestic. He could imagine hundreds of branches all over this world with the name the Majestic. Just by mere thought, he felt extremely excited. A suitable name for an alchemy empire. Are you seriously thinking to name this shop the Majestic? She air-quoted the last 2 words and snickered. Just imagine. He stepped closer as he put his hand around her neck, and surprisingly, she didn't resist. Hundreds of shops, all over the world, the Majestic. And when we build our main headquarters, we can call the place the Majestic City. How cool is that? When you put it like that, it does sound not so bad, she said as she also put her hand around his neck. Both Daniel and Ricky scratched the back of their head looking at these 2. Now, who's going to write the name on the board? he asked, looking at Gaia as he expected her to write the name considering his handwriting sucks. Usually, girls would have beautiful handwriting compared to the boys, therefore, he looked at her. "Gimme the brush." Looking at his gaze, she rolled her eyes and grabbed the brush to write the name on the board. After a few minutes, she finished writing the name and it looked gorgeous. It even shocked Michael because her handwriting looked computerized. "That's how you do it." Pride in her work and arrogance oozed out of her face. Without giving any snarky comments, Michael gestured at Ricky and Daniel to hang the sign outside. As soon as the people saw the sign and the store, they were greatly surprised. Amongst all the buildings in Bradford City, it was really rare to see such a new, smart, and modern-looking store. This store had a strange name, too, the Majestic. "Hey, have you heard the news that Ghost beat up Jane's bodyguards, in front of her?" "I have already heard this news. He has way too many balls if you ask me." "Yeah, no sure, but I bet he would have realized by now who he had messed with and never returned to Bradford." "That's baloney. He just opened up a store. Its name is the Majestic." "My God. Really? Can that guy open a store? Who would dare to visit his store?" "Exactly. It's a pity that his store hasn't opened to the public yet. I wonder what its main commodity would be. I've heard that he is planning to sell meat." "No, I've heard he is going to open a brothel and the girl with him is the merchandise." Michael had no idea about the rumors and the tales spreading across Bradford about his shop. The portions and the pills were not very complicated. As long as ingredients were available, everything could be made easily in a few minutes. As the main pillar of the shop, alchemist, what he could do was concoct the pills and brew the potions while Ricky and Daniel stand guard outside. Gaia, on the other hand, wrote down the effects of each pill and potion on the billboard so that the customers could place orders accordingly. Now, everything was ready. "Okay, let's set a small goal of earning 300,000 gold on an opening day," he calmly said to the three in front of them. Hearing his goal, Ricky and Daniel freaked out as they only knew that he's an alchemist, but they had no idea what star alchemist he is. Is he planning to earn 300 gold on an opening day? How could this be possible? Regardless of whether or not the two were believing this, he was quite confident himself, so was Gaia. "All right, Elia, put the menu outside, and let's make some money." "Money!" Gaia shouted with vigorous spirit and paced towards the outside where a lot of curious onlookers had already gathered. Many people were discussing the commodity of the store, for the renovation style was so novelty that none of them had ever seen anything like in the past. Also, some people were looking forward to witnessing the Baron's wrath for beating his daughter's bodyguards. Finally, he ordered Ricky to remove the curtains and let the people outside bask in the glory of his new shop. Being fully surprised, all onlookers stared at the store with curiosity. Along with the lifting of dark curtains, a typical Manhattan boutique-style shop came into view of the onlookers. All onlookers were totally shocked and dumbfounded. "Awesome! It's really beautiful. Look at that. It really turns me on. Wow, look at those spotless windows and the interior. Gee, look, it seems it's an alchemy store. Whoa. A healing pill costs 13,000 gold. Shit, he has revitalizing pills for sale. I can't afford this. This is daytime robbery. Why don't he go rob the king?" As these onlookers started to read the menu on the billboards, they trembled at the sight of the prices. Their eyes widened in great shock. My God! This must be one wicked store. Chapter 55, Ghost is a 5. Hearing this, Michael didn't react at all but waited for Gaia to write the last part on the board. He lounged on the sofa and relaxed his body. The store was full of people, but no one dared to take a step forward and make an order, as everything was just so expensive. "Oh, wait a moment, look over there," a man suddenly yelled, pointing to the shop sign after Gaia finished writing. "Holy moly, 80% pure pills. Oh my God, are the pills and potions made by Alchemy King Gabriel? If this is true, then the price is actually very reasonable. This cannot be true. Just think, Lord Keswick didn't have any shops anywhere." "Yes, you are right. If this store is his, he would have come here. Besides, the prices were really high, so no one was willing to try anything. But the written introductions were really alluring, especially for cultivators who were now experiencing a bottleneck in the development of their powers. They were desperate to ascend to a higher stage in a short time. That was why the price of the Arch energy boosters made by Gabriel had gone up to 15,000 gold coins in the auction. Now, one just needed to spend 10,000 coins, and they could possibly enjoy the same effect as the difference between Gabriel's pill and here, only 4%. Excuse me, miss, what if I fail to get into a higher stage after I take your Arch energy booster? Asked a middle-aged man, who was at level 2 of the body refining stage. He is the master of the Winsent family, a very influential family in Sarton. I never thought that he would come here alone. It is said that he has been in a bottleneck for 20 years. I think he might never enter the next stage in this life without a powerful pill or portion. I guess he would like to take this opportunity. Anyway, he should tell us what he will do if the pill does not work. All of a sudden, everyone stared at Gaia as she scanned the man from top to bottom. After a few seconds, she agreed with the man. If this man took an Arch energy booster purer than 80%, he would break the bottleneck and break through to the next stage. Ghost, she turned around and nodded at Michael. He slowly sat straight on the sofa. According to your current state, if you take the 80% pure Arch energy booster, they'll guarantee you that you'll break through to the next level. If not, I will pay you back with 10 times the pill's value. Not only that, but we also give 10 times the coins you spent if the products were not 80% pure. Seeing this, people at present took a deep breath. He did not only give a guarantee but also said he would compensate him with 10 times the product's original value. Really? He would pay 100,000 gold coins? The master was a little hesitant. After all, 10,000 gold coins was not a small amount of money. He had to think carefully before making any move, but Michael's confident voice and guarantee somewhat reassured him to take the gamble. Right at this moment, many more onlookers came. Do not be tricked by him. He must be lying. Yes. No one would dare to ask for compensation from him if the pill does not have the effect he claims it does. You all know who he really is, you can do nothing about him. Hearing this, all people at present were in agreement. Yes, even if the pill was fake, no one would dare to ask for compensation from him, especially after he beat the crap out of Jane's bodyguards. Bang! Gaia suddenly dashed towards the crowd with a cold, "Ah. What are you doing?" A few onlookers were dragged out and thrown onto the street by her while Michael sat still without stopping her because they were bad for his business. She then stepped on their chests so hard as bone-cracking noises came from their chest. The next minute, they all began to spit out blood and passed out. You bastards are really brazen. How dare you speak ill of our shop, the Majestic? Gaia sneered, and even though she was just a mortal, no one dared to raise a finger against her because of Michael. Then she walked slowly back to the store as people backed off and got out of her way. They realized that not only Michael but his beautiful charming girlfriend was also a cruel devil. If you can't afford our products, no problem, but if you dare speak ill of our establishment, I will kick the shit out of you all. Everyone felt furious and stunned, including Ricky and Daniel. Just a moment ago, she seemed so harmless and cute, but in a few seconds, she turned into a scarier version of Jane, or even worse. Even with her mortal status, she's this arrogant, and imagine, if she has the cultivation level of Ghost. Damn. Even his girlfriend is exactly like him, bitch. How dare she treat them like this? But they all noticed Michael standing there calmly, so no one opened their mouth to complain about Gaia's behavior. As far as Michael was concerned, most of these poor bastards can't afford his price and didn't care about their feelings. Like Gaia said, if they have the guts to speak ill of his shop, they better be ready to get their asses kicked. Ghost, since you are running a business, you should not treat customers like this, the master of Winsent family said. In the Majestic, we put the customers first, but we also do not tolerate any kind of false claims against our products, Michael calmly said as the people at present were stunned. Put the customers first? Seriously? The master of the Winsent family also shook his head. Ghost, as a businessman, you should always be honest. You said that if the products are not 80% pure, you will compensate us with 10 times the product's original value. do you really mean it? Everyone knew even the pills and potions made by Gabriel wouldn't be 84% pure at all times, but Michael said otherwise. Of course I mean it. Buy or don't, it's your choice, he shrugged. Fine. Here are 10,000 gold coins, give me the Arch Energy Booster. The master of the Wincent family took out a gray cube and put the cube heavily on the desk beside Michael. Michael, however, did not take the cube, but instead, he nodded at Gaia to process the payment. Gaia quickly came to him and took the pay cube. 10,000 gold coins, she said without any kind expression on her face. The man hated their attitude, but with the gritted teeth, he placed his hand on the cube as a blue holographic image of 10,000 appeared above the pay cube. In a few seconds, a neatly stacked 10,000 gold coins appeared on the table. Ricky and Daniel and every single person who saw the scene sighed and looked at the gold with sparkling eyes. For Ricky and Daniel, this was the first time they had seen a huge amount like this up close. Michael was extremely excited to see the sparkling gold coins, but he controlled his emotions and ordered the system to take the coins into his storage. Wait at the waiting area until I call you, Michael said. Ricky quickly stepped forward and gestured at the man towards the line of office chairs as the man followed Ricky. Meanwhile, everyone waited to see the 80% pure Arch Energy pill and scanned the entire room to see where he was keeping the pills. Until now, people couldn't find a single pill in this store and expected Michael to retrieve the pill from his space ring, which he didn't have. The shop was divided into two halves by a glass wall. One half was the waiting area where fancy office chairs lined up for customers and a large comfy executive chair and table for Gaia. The other half behind the glass door was Michael's domain. Since this store was a temporary place, he only placed a large sofa and nothing else. Oh, I like this chair. While everyone's gaze was at Michael, Gaia sat on her executive chair and rotated the chair playfully. Whoosh! On the other side of the glass, Michael flipped his left hand, exposing his palm and revealing a bright red flame, hovering on it. What is he doing? Is he going to concoct the pills? Idiot, look, there's no furnace. Then what the heck is he doing with the fire? As they were looking at him confused, he tossed all the ingredient right into the flame. What? What? What is he doing? Oh my god. Is he really an alchemist? What the fuck? I'm not an alchemist, but I know enough not to throw all the ingredients directly into the flame. Everyone was stupefied by the turn of events, as no one thought that he's an alchemist or he would try to concoct the pill himself. Their faces had looks of utter shock and disbelief. In that next second, however, their jaws almost hit the ground and eyes bulged out of the sockets. The pearls and beads of herbal essences emerged from the flames but took no damage at all. Then the green beads merged into one round shiny pill that radiated arch energy and a sweet aroma. Holy fuck. Look at the pill, it looks perfectly pure and flawless, 80% pure. The crowd who were seeing this remained rooted to the ground in shock. Their hearts were trembling, unable to believe whatever they were witnessing. 5-star alchemist. Ghost is a 5-star alchemist. Several people among the crowd shouted as the entire shop became dead silent. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Finally, the moment Michael waited appeared. The sweet sound of rings of notifications rang inside his head without a stop. Chapter 56. He's not a genius, he's a frickin' monster. There are no words to describe this kind of talent. Many people were rolling their eyes, feeling dizzy and struggling just to not fall on the ground. They simply couldn't accept this. This was just too unbelievable. They managed to calm themselves down after a few more minutes, but the way they looked at Michael had changed. And currently, they realized one thing: he's in a different league than the other prodigies of his generation. The more they became shocked, the more badass points he earned. Daniel, take this pill to the gentleman over there. Holding the green shiny pill in his hand, Michael called Daniel. It took several seconds for Daniel to respond as he came to Michael. Michael placed the pill in Daniel's shaking hands. Before this, Daniel had never even seen 30% pure alchemy pills or potions this close, let alone an 80% pure pill. Realizing that he was holding a 10,000 gold value pill in his hand, his whole body trembled. Go on. Michael gave a pat on the back to move Daniel faster. After a minute, Daniel carefully handed over the pill to the man. Receiving the pill, he could feel the warmness and the arch energy radiating from the pill. The fantastic smell of the pill wafted into his nose. The onlookers were eager to know whether the pill was a real 80% pure one or not, and all tightly fixed their eyes on him. You will be able to feel the effect after taking the pill. Gaius stopped rolling and rotating the chair and reminded him slowly at that moment. The master said nothing more. Either he would break through to the next level after taking the pill or receive 10 times the amount he paid. Both outcomes were favorable to him. Puff. He opened his mouth and put the pill into his mouth. The next moment, the man's eyes widened in disbelief. The pill melted in his mouth and released a rich aroma. He could instantly sense his body devouring the arch energy like crazy. The master was shocked. He had been taking many pills and portions for a long time, expecting a breakthrough. Is the pill working? Someone in the crowd shouted at that moment. However, the master had no time to answer the question as his whole body was going through a change. It is so. He was about to open the mouth and all of a sudden, a force of energy gushed out from his meridians and rushed through his body, roaring like a tsunami. What? The master was totally shocked. He didn't have enough time to think more. The next moment, he sat down on the ground with his legs crossed and started to draw that force in with cultivation arts. Boom! After a few breaths, a formless airwave gushed out from his body. Then he opened his eyes suddenly with brand new momentum. His eyes were even clearer than before and his skin became glossy. Level 3 of the body refining stage. I did it? The master murmured to himself. His mind remained unclear for a while. Did I break the bottleneck which has entangled me for so many years? All of the onlookers were also dumbfounded. All of them had sensed the change in the master. Level 3, of the body refining stage. How could this be possible? My God! He really realized a breakthrough to the next stage. That was really an 80% pure arch energy booster. There was no doubt about that. I can't believe he's a 5-star alchemist. He's not even 30 years old, everyone was exclaiming with disbelief. There were no right words for them to describe their shock. Whoosh! The master of the Winsent family stood up immediately and bowed at him. Then he said with immense gratitude, "Thank you, young Master Ghost. My whole Winsent family is in your debt." The man even addressed him as young master because he was not only a prodigy but also a 5-star alchemist. Even the king would treat a 5-star alchemist like him with the utmost respect. Standing on the other side of the glass, Michael waved his hand calmly. It's okay. The next time you need any pills or potions, come to the majestic, of course, young Master Ghost. Can I order another 10 arch energy boosters and a couple of revitalizing pills for the members of my family? The master asked excitedly. His breakthrough this time could greatly promote the status of his family, and with these pills, his entire family could increase their power. If the other elders who were also entangled with bottlenecks could also make a breakthrough, a complete transformation would happen in his family, and their status in Sartan would reach a new level. Therefore, spending 100,000 or more gold coins was not a bad thing but a great investment. Seeing this, the onlookers could hardly stand still. Holy shit! This is for real. Usually normal people, including the rich people, couldn't get a chance to meet a 5-star alchemist as they were extremely rare in the Elon continent. And even those few would often deal with rare treasures and artifacts rather than gold coins. Therefore, when they realized the golden opportunity in front of them in the shape of Michael, they rushed into the store and gathered in front of Gaia's counter. Then they started to shout loudly, "I will also order 5 arch energy boosters. Me too. I will take 3 healing potions. 6 revitalizing pills for me. Instantly the store was in chaos and Ricky and Daniel struggled to keep the people in the line. At this moment, Gaia stood up with an evil smile and shouted, "Behave yourselves, this is not a market. Form an orderly line and place your orders one by one. If you don't, we will close the shop and leave." The crowd instantly stopped the chaos they were making and quickly formed a line. They feared that she would really close the shop and leave. They all knew that at the same time tomorrow, the whole street would be crowded with people to buy a pill from him when the news spread. Before that happened, they wanted to buy the pills and potions. Of course, the people who had no gold coins to afford such products could only step aside and let the rich people move forward. At the same time, a fat old man who stood in the line took a deep breath before talking to one of the young guards beside him. "Rio, I'll stay in the line. You go and inform the Baron about this." In the main hall of the Baron's mansion, a middle-aged man was sitting on a large chair. The man, wearing loose silk clothes, was muscular and 6 feet tall. He was the mayor of Bradford, Tobias Totonk. In front of him was a young girl who was shivering and walking back and forth with a red face. "Father, I need him dead now. Send him 50 no. 60 men, I want them to chop him up." She was none other than Jane. "Don't be impatient, Jane, let's investigate the matter properly before taking any decision." "Fuck the decision. My guards are at death's door because of that bastard. I want justice for my people. Why can't you understand this?" Her eyes slightly welled up when she talked about her guards, but her anger was too great to let the tears roll out. "If you don't, I'll go directly to the capital and bring my big brother." "I'm not saying I won't take action against Ghost, but I'm saying we can't act on impulse, especially at a time like this," Tobias patiently explained, but Jane was not in the mood to listen to him. "What's our war with Sartan Baron has anything to do with this? Grow a spine, father." "Jane." Tobias raised his voice, but he soon calmed himself. Sometimes he would think he pampered her too much and spoiled her, but he couldn't get mad at his little princess as he loved her too much. Not only him, everyone in his family loved her dearly. Her mother died when she was little, and because of that everyone raised her, giving her everything she asked as they didn't want her to feel motherless. Even when she ran amok in Bradford, no one reprimanded her. The only one who kept her in line was Selina, Jane's cousin. Jane loved her cousin like her own sister, and Selina too loved her deeply since she was little. However, no one could have known at this point that Selina will be the reason for what's going to happen to Jane. Chapter 57. Suddenly a guard rushed into the main hall, his face filled with excitement, but when he noticed Jane, he cowered like a scared cat. The guard wouldn't have felt excited if he knew what happened to Jane's guards. He just reached Bradford with Minister Liam, the fat old man who was waiting in the Majestic. "What is it, Rio?" Looking at the guard, Tobias asked. "There's a 5-star alchemist in Bradford, Lord Totonk." "What?" Tobias immediately stood up like his chair was on fire. "Where is he? Is he coming here? Why did no one inform me? Who is he?" Tobias ignored Jane's temper tantrum and rapidly fired questions at Rio. "Father. Lord Totonk, he opened up a shop in Bradford. Minister Liam is there to order some pills and potions. Let's go meet him now." A 5-star alchemist was not a joke. If he could form a relationship with one, he could gain a massive advantage over Sartan Baron, and who knew, he could even avoid war altogether. "Do you know his name?" "Lord Totonk." The people called him Ghost, and just when Tobias was about to take another step, he received a huge blow in the form of Rio's answer. "What did you say?" Tobias felt like he was going to faint as he looked at Jane with the mixed emotions of anger and uncertainty. Of all the people in Bradford, she just messed with the one person who could have saved Bradford from going to war with Sartan. Thinking about this, he wasn't sure whether to blame himself for spoiling her too much or blame his bad luck. "I don't care if he's a 6-star alchemist, he must pay the price for his crimes." "Shut up." Tobias' anger exploded and his shout echoed through the main hall. Jane stumbled back a few steps as this was the first time she had seen her father angry at her. Even when she killed a minister's son, he didn't shout at her like this. "Do you not understand the seriousness of your actions? You messed with the 5-star alchemist. People like him wouldn't be a nobody or some run-of-the-mill rich brat who you can kill and punish as you wish. The guard who escorted Jane back to the mansion informed Tobias about everything that happened at Bradford and what Michael said to Jane before he left. "The reason I leave you alive is I don't like wars and am not going to start one with your family because of you. But if you mess with me again, you and all the Bradford will know the power behind meth." Words he spoke made more sense to Tobias now than it did before. "Gather our men, Rio, we're going to greet this ghost. I hope he's not furious at us." "As you wish, Lord Totonk, father, wait, I'm coming with you." At this moment, Michael finished using the last batch of ingredients and heaved a long sigh. The ingredients might have run out on him, but the crowd was much bigger than when he first started. However, he still had one batch of ingredients to brew healing potion in his system storage, as he expected the Baron to visit him soon. A large portion of the crowd came only to see the fiasco rather than buying his expensive products. Michael stood up with a smile and shouted, "My dear customers, we're going to close the shop now." Hearing that, everyone in the store was totally surprised. "What the hell? Are they going to close the store now?" "No, young Master Ghost, let me buy some Arch Energy boosters first." "Yeah, I'm waiting here for so long. Please. Don't do this. Did we do something wrong, young Master Ghost?" Many people shouted, as some even begged him not to close the shop. They were cultivators who had been stuck in their current stage for many years, and most of them had lost hope in making breakthroughs. People who had severe injuries hoped to treat their wounds with healing potions. Those who polluted their body with various pills and potions hoped to revitalize their bodies by using the revitalization pills. And finally, people like the Lord of Winsent family had a chance to break through by taking the Arch Energy boosters. All of them now had found hope. Their long-lasting problem could be solved by Michael. He was their savior. "People, we're not permanently closing the store, but I've run out of ingredients and it'll take a day to get the special items I use. So there's nothing I can do." The crowd looked disappointed, but they couldn't argue with him as he made a valid point. "If you want to buy our products tomorrow, they'll be at my new shop in the Sunrise sect. We open at 7 in the morning and close at 1 o'clock. Now leave the store in an orderly manner." "You heard the man." Gaia stood up from her executive chair and motioned the crowd towards the door as Daniel and Ricky stepped forward to deal with the reluctant crowd. "If you dare do or say something, we won't do any business in Bradford again." This. All the onlookers were tongue-tied and wearing gloomy expressions. Expressions of regret appeared in the faces of many people. They harbored bitterness in their hearts as they cursed themselves for having hesitated and not coming here soon. Before such a great temptation of 80% alchemy potions and pills, none of them could wait to come back the next day. They all wanted to ask why he was moving the store from Bradford to Sunrise sect, but having heard Gaia, they didn't dare to question Michael. "Never mind. Let's go to the Sunrise sect earlier tomorrow." The onlookers turned around and walked to the outside in a line. "Don't forget to bring your pay cubes tomorrow, we are not charity." As they stepped out of the shop, Gaia shouted at them and chuckled happily. "Not bad for a first day." At last Michael sighed in relief and smiled. Honestly speaking, Gaia contributed much to the successful first day. He was able to concoct and brew potions without worrying about the crowd only because of Gaia. The flood of people overwhelmed the two henchmen, but Gaia handled the situation pretty well by keeping the crowd in line and throwing the bad crowd out of the shop. In simple words, she was like a mix between cute manager and ruthless bouncer. "You two go and have a break, meet us here in 2 hours, Michael ordered Daniel and Ricky. "Yes, Master Ghost." Their voices now full of energy, and they looked extremely happy, like they hit the jackpot with this job. After Ricky and Daniel left the shop, both Michael and Gaia plunged into the sofa. Previously he gave the space ring he got from Heaven's Gate competition to Gaia, so she could store the gold coins inside rather than piling them in the shop before all the people. "Tell me how much we earned." He rubbed his hands in excitement as Gaia flicked her wrist. A bright light emerged from the silver space ring in her hand, and then, huge neatly stacked gold coins appeared in front of them. "Huh!" The glistening of the gold coins lit the room with a golden color. He had seen a stack of money before, but this was the first time he saw a huge pile of gold coins this close. "There are 359,000 gold coins. We sold 11 Arch Energy boosters for 110,000 coins. 12 revitalizing pills for 132,000 and 9 healing potions for 117,000 coins. If we had more batches of ingredients, we could have milked the suckers dry. She let out a disappointed look. I do have one last batch of ingredients to brew healing potions. Good, I do expect the Baron to visit us. Gaia nodded. And what did you ask the people to come to the Sunrise sect? What's wrong with this place? No one would dare to touch us now, and we could even buy what we need from the Green Heaven. First of all, they would definitely raise their prices knowing what we are charging the people. Secondly, why should we go to the Green Heaven when we can grow our own herbs at the sect? We don't have to pay for the ingredients, and we can promote the sect more by setting up the shop there. After hearing him, she took a couple of seconds to think about this and nodded. You are right, and I don't think that bitch Jane would let us run a business in her city after what you had done to her guards. So what are you going to do about the ingredients for tomorrow? We cleaned the sect's herbal guardian clean, remember? Don't worry about it, I got it covered. And when she was about to ask how, they heard galloping sounds and heavy footsteps. Michael looked outside through the dark curtain to see a group of soldiers dressed in metal plates and chainmail walking towards their shop. The Baron is here. Chapter 58. With a wave of his hand, Michael opened the door for the Baron and his guards. 2 guards in a full metal plate and chainmail entered through the door first, and following them, a red-haired sturdy man came inside. His fancy robes and aura gave out his identity without an introduction. You. Behind the Baron, Jane walked with the gritted teeth. Michael completely ignored her and smiled at Baron. Welcome to the majestic, Baron Totonk, he said, and reached his hand out to shake Baron's hand as the Baron seemed stunned for a moment before shaking Michael's hand. You are Master Ghost? The Baron didn't expect him to be this young, as he seemed like he's 19 or 20 years old. He was not wrong, as Abraz was only 19 years old when he died. Yes, Baron Totonk, Michael said. The guards quickly brought 2 customer chairs and placed them behind the Baron and Jane to sit. Michael and Gaia sat on the sofa to hear the purpose of Baron's visit. Master Ghost, my men said you are a 5-star alchemist. How could the Baron believe a boy like him is a 5-freaking-star alchemist? Was he studying alchemy since he was in his mother's womb? Apparently I am, a lot of people ask me that. So Baron Totonk, what brought you to my shop? Is it anything to do with what happened to the guards? Forgive my silly daughter for what happened, Master Ghost. I spoiled her too much, father. Baron knew when to raise his head and lower his head. Compared to a 5-star alchemist, his position as Baron was nothing. Even the king of Breedia would treat Ghost with the utmost respect. Not only was he a 5-star alchemist, but one who could concoct pills and brew potions with the purity of 80%, which made him the second best to alchemy King Gabriel himself. Don't worry about that, Baron Totonk. I'm not going to hold that against you, but how are the guards? What do you think, you devil? Jane. Jane snapped when Michael asked about the guards, but soon, she closed her mouth when Baron raised his voice at her. Mast, it's fine, Lord Totonk. I'm a very tolerant guy, tolerant my ass. Gaia was laughing her butt off inside when she heard this, but kept a straight face. Unlike Gaia, the veins on Jane's face popped and her face turned ugly. This guy nearly beat her guards to death, but shameless claiming that he's a tolerant guy. How ridiculous is that? I'm glad that you have such a big heart, Master Ghost. Baron Totonk was planning how to cool him off after Jane's little squabble with him. He was even ready to gift him a huge chunk of the treasury if that is what it takes Ghost to forgive Jane, but now he sighed in relief hearing that he already forgave them. I would, however, recommend you to buy some healing potions to treat the guards. Oh? The Baron was again stunned by Michael. For a moment Totonk thought he saw a fox in human form. Baron understood that by recommending he's urging him to buy healing potions from him. Of course, Master Ghost, if that would make Ghost happy. Baron was willing to spend the gold for the healing potions. Looking at the Baron's pay cube, Gaia's lips curved upwards. The guards would need 6 healing potions, that'd be 78,000 gold coins. Are you seriously asking us to pay for what you have done? This is too much. Jane screamed and puffs of smoke came out of her nostrils. Do you know how much it cost me to reach the point where I am now? Compared to that, this is just a drop in the ocean. Don't mind my spoiled daughter, Master Ghost. Here is the pay cube. Baron Totonk handed his pay cube as Gaia took 78,000 gold from it with a small chuckle. Gaia knew Jane must be going crazy seeing this, and it made Gaia extremely happy and satisfied. Now wait a few minutes, Baron Totonk, Michael smiled. He immediately took out the batch of ingredients to brew the healing potions in front of Baron and his men, so he could gain more badass points. Michael merely waved his hand, and under the control of his arch-energy, all the required herbs and ingredients floated up in front of him. After that, he immediately unleashed his arch-energy. With its aid, he would be able to gain precise control over every single herb. Pop! Followed by a soft vibration, the bright red fire in his hand exploded and turned into a small stream of flames that engulfed all of the herbs. Whoa! Baron immediately leaned back when he saw he's brewing the potion without even a furnace. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 900 badass points, ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1000 badass points, ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points, ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. The beep sound of the system rang continuously in his mind. Even Jane looked stunned by the sight of his ability to brew potion without a furnace. Even though she was not an alchemist, she knew how hard it is to practice alchemy without a furnace, as even the alchemy teachers in the Morning Star would risk concocting pills or brewing potions without a furnace. Under the intense heat of the flame, all of the impurities within the herbs were being burnt. Although the purification process looked simple, it was an important step that couldn't be neglected. His action of purifying dozens of herbs at once was simply shocking. He had a calm expression. His black hair was fluttering backward, and his eyes were brimming with vigor like a pair of dark gemstones. With all his focus, he kept staring at the sea of flames in front of him. Within the flames, all the herbs were floating in different positions and were being burned with different temperatures that suited them individually. There were no doubts about purification being a very difficult step in alchemy. Therefore, when ordinary alchemists concocted pills or brewing potions, they would use a furnace to help control the temperature of the flame. Besides, since each herb had its own melting point, the alchemist would need to purify them one at a time or purify herbs with the same melting point at the same time. If two herbs with different melting points were purified at the same time, it would usually result in impurities remaining or essence being burned off, which then makes the pill or the potion low quality. Even the alchemists with rich experience might at most purify a few herbs together at once. The fact that he was able to purify dozens of herbs together at once was simply astounding. Only the renowned alchemists dared to do so, and none of them would be able to do it so leisurely like he was doing. After a few minutes, 6 vials of green glistening liquid landed in his hand. Here you go, Baron Totonk. He handed over the vials to the Baron. If you want anything else, you have to come to the Sunrise sect. We are moving the shop. Why? The Baron was surprised and shocked at the same time. Master Ghost, is it because of my daughter? Why are you moving? Although the Sunrise sect was a part of Bradford, it was an independent territory unlike here. It's not Baron Totonk, staying here never was my plan. The Sunrise sect is my home now and I like working from home. There's nothing you can do or say that would make me stay here. Besides, I think it's better if we stay off of each other. Michael looked at Jane when he said. Baron Totonk let out a long sigh. He knew Ghost was right because he knew his daughter. It wouldn't take Jane to find a way to mess with him if he stayed in Bradford, therefore, the Baron reluctantly accepted Ghost's move. As far as the Baron was concerned, he's on Ghost's good side and he could use this to build his relationship with him and use his reputation and status to gain an advantage over the Baron of Sarton. Then I will wish you luck, Master Ghost, and if you need anything, please just send someone to my humble house. I will do my best to help you, of course, Baron Totonk. After a few pleasant words, Baron left the store. Jane gave him a cold stare before leaving and indicated that she's not done with him. 437,000 gold. Looking at the disappearing figures of the Baron and his men, Gaia said. Not bad at all, human. Counting all these gold makes me hungry. let's go grab a bite. Since she had no arch energy to sustain her body needs, her stomach started to growl. She would literally kill to eat the porridge cooked by Raylene, but she was too hungry to go to the sect. Alright, lead the way. Not long after this, Michael and Gaia arrived at a restaurant. It was a magnificent restaurant with luxurious decorations, and on top of the entrance hung 3 words, the Ruby Cuisine. It was a 2-story building, and the decorations were magnificent and luxurious. Anyone could sense an aristocratic aura from this place. Obviously, those who could dine at this place were the noblest and richest men in Bradford. It was noon, and this was the busiest time each day for the restaurant. Many rich and famous people wearing expensive clothing kept arriving. And on their way to here, Michael earned badass points just by walking. It was clear that many people now recognized him and were shocked by his talents thanks to the system. A young man who looked like a waiter was bowing and greeting the customers while shouting out orders at the door. When the waiter saw Michael and Gaia, he hurriedly came forwards and greeted, "Young master, young Mississippi. Please come in," the waiter said, but Gaia could sense a hint of panic and fear in his voice. Gaia nodded, thinking that probably the waiter heard of Ghost's reputation and was about to enter the restaurant when she noticed Michael standing without moving. What's going on? Michael's environment scanning ability revealed to him that there are 2 extremely powerful entities inside the restaurant and made him reluctant to get in. Is this going to be one of the restaurant fights that would happen in novels? He loved reading cultivation novels, and in most of them, the main character would find himself in trouble whenever he enters a place to rest or eat, especially if the MC had a beautiful girl beside him. Of course, he knew face-slapping an arrogant young master in front of all the people would get him badass points, but the 2 entities inside the restaurant seemed way out of his current league. Therefore, he had second thoughts of entering the restaurant. He would rather choose to be careful and calculative than depend on the system and his luck to save his bacon. Come on, I'm hungry. I changed my mind, let's head back to the sect. I'll ask Raylene to make something for you. He had to be alive to be a badass, and his instincts told him not to enter the restaurant. So he listened to his instincts and immediately turned back. A good man won't let his friend go hungry. Ghost. Just when he was about to leave, a voice appeared out of nowhere and formed an invisible wall around him. Shit, here we go. Chapter 59. When Michael entered the restaurant and started walking towards the tables, he could immediately feel a pair of eyes looking at him. When he turned around to look at the source of these eyes, he could see 2 girls staring at him. One of them was blonde and the other was red hair. Obviously, both of them were super hot, but Michael was not in the mood to enjoy their beauties, as they could simply kill him like swatting a fly, as the blonde was at the core formation level 6 and the red hair was at core formation level 3. At the moment, 2 of them were checking him out, and not in a good way. Take a seat, the blonde one gestured at Michael. She had shiny blonde hair, perfect facial structures, and silky smooth skin. The red hair beside the blonde was even hotter and younger than the blonde. But when he took a step forward, he felt a tight grip around his hand and looked at Gaia, who was shivering for some reason. Although she acted weird, he had his own problems now and walked towards the table without showing his worries on the face. System, at the sign of the first trouble, activate the teleportation scroll, noted. Immediately he noticed the tension in the hall, and people in the restaurant tried their best not to look at the 2 girls and him. The atmosphere was quiet and gloomy, like everyone was afraid of these 2 beauties. Sit down, the blonde one said as Michael calmly sat before them. Wine? The blonde girl asked, but Michael shook his head. I don't drink booze, just water for me and waiter. He signaled the waiter to come. One of the waiters slowly approached them. Bring whatever my friend asks. I'm not hungry. The waiter was already tense, and when he heard Gaia's cold voice, he didn't dare to talk back to her. What's your name? Your real name? The blonde girl asked as Michael took a short sip of water. Ghost, that's my name. I know it's hard to believe, but that's the truth. He tried hard not to sound arrogant. These 2 were not someone he could mess with, at least not yet. Warning. The system detected a telepathic intrusion. Firewall activated. The system's level is too low to retaliate. The system can only stop the telepathic intrusion. This bitch is trying to hack me? For a moment, the blonde seemed surprised, but she quickly hid her surprise. You made name for yourself in this small kingdom. Ghost, thank you, Mississippi. You don't get to know my name, at least not yet, okay? He didn't know whether the blonde knows it or not, but she sounded extremely overbearing. Is every pretty girl in this world an egoistic bitch? No, it can't be, he sighed inside and thought. What do you want from me, miss? Since these girls didn't even give their names, he was not in the mood for small talks. You don't have anything that we don't, Ghost, the red-haired girl snickered. My friend is right, Ghost. We don't want anything from you, on the contrary, we are here to give you something. This is different, Michael thought in his mind and asked, what is it, miss? How'd you like to join the Guardians Guild? Whoa, holy moly. Guys, they are Guardians, holy shit. I knew it, what are they doing in Bradford? It seems they are here recruit Ghosts to their guild. The people who were staring at them silently until now began to murmur immediately when they heard the blonde girl's last words. Unfortunately for Michael, Abraz had no knowledge about the Guardian Guild. However, noticing the people's reaction, he realized that it would be suspicious if he said he didn't know anything about the Guardian Guild. Therefore he decided to ask questions without revealing his lack of knowledge about their guild. Am I not too weak to join the Guardian Guild, miss? Of course you're too weak and that's why you won't join the Guardians. The blonde's words confused him, and looking at his expression, the girl put the wine glass in her hand down and explained, we are searching for promising talents and forming a group of trainees to serve the guild and Guardians. Serve? He sneered inside and wanted to punch her in the face. What about after training, miss? Why are you asking too many questions? You should be thankful for us to even consider you. The red-haired girl lost her temper for a second and slightly raised her voice. If it was a normal circumstance and she was weak, he would have taught her a lesson. However, these two girls were extremely powerful and seemed to have a powerful guild behind them. Although the blonde girl didn't seem to like him asking questions, she still had a small smile on her face. After training, you will continue to work with your fellow trainees and serve the guild. The Guardians will evaluate your performance, and if you're good enough, they might take you as their subordinate. The girl made it sound being a subordinate as a huge honor and opportunity, but Michael didn't give a shit about their guild. How could he serve someone else other than himself? Yet, he had only one last question to ask before rejecting their offer. Miss, can I ask you one last question? He asked humbly because he didn't want the two girls to get mad and attack him, which would threaten his life. Go on, the blonde girl nodded. Is there any chance for a trainee to become a guardian? Ha ha ha, the red-haired girl's eyes went wide for a moment as the blonde girl burst into laughter. Michael still had a calm face, but he could sense Gaia was trembling. The blonde girl stood up when she stopped laughing and put a silver round medallion on the table. If you want to join the guild, bring this to the capital before tomorrow night. In a flash, the two girls disappeared from the place, leaving everyone stunned. He took the medallion and saw a logo of a crown etched into the surface. After storing the medallion in the system storage, he stood up to leave the place but saw Gaia didn't move a muscle. Hey, come on, we are leaving. He shook her shoulder and felt her body trembling. I know something's wrong, but this is not the place. Come, he forced her up as she reluctantly followed him outside. When they stepped outside, Michael grabbed her hand and activated the lighting dash. In a flash, he and Gaia left the place, leaving a trail of dust. Except for the stop he made in front of his store to leave a note for Daniel and Ricky, he dashed straight outside Bradford and reached the outskirts of the city. Alright, now we can walk and talk. The outskirts of the city looked deserted and they had no one but trees to accompany them. What happened back there? He asked, but she still remained silent, which was a rare thing when it comes to Gaia. He sighed, usually I don't give a shit about your past, but when it comes to my subordinates, I do give a shit. So tell me before I make you. After looking at his serious face, Gaia took a deep breath and opened her mouth. The girl back there, which one? The blonde or the red hair? The red hair, she gritted her teeth and said, what about her? She is the reason for my state, human, she's my half-sister. Michael halted his steps in surprise. He never expected this twist, and now that he thought about this, it really made sense. So that's why you went quiet. You have to tell me what happened in Nagaland. What did you do? She hesitated to open up, but Michael knew what would cheer her up and make her talk. He retrieved a shiny white pill from the system storage. It was the cheap tear pill that would create a false sense of repairing her crippled meridians. If you tell me what happened, I will give you this pill I concocted just for you. Her face slightly lit up when she saw the pill and reached out to grab the pills. No flashback, no pills. The pill was too tempting for Gaia, and looking at her expression, he laughed inside because it was like taking candy from a baby. He manipulated her easily. It all started. Short version would do, tell me only the good bits. Chapter 60. After my mother died, my father married a bitch called Salisi. Together they had Zanali, the red-haired bitch, Zanali Ha. He noted her name and continued his walk while Gaia narrated the short version of her flashback. Since the moment she was born, she got everything I didn't, my father's attention, mother's love, and everything I longed for. Her voice slightly broke and revealed the sadness in her heart. A few years ago, I asked one of my minions to collect information the Naga land's population and food consumption level. Why? Because I saw my father asking for a loan from nearby human kings. He wouldn't have done that if he had any other choices. You thought it has something to do with the population and food consumption of your people? Yes, and I was right. According to my minions and spies, my father is liquidating the assets and taking loans from the nobles to run the kingdom. That bastard was driving my mother's kingdom to the ground, and I wanted to fix the situation before he could sell the kingdom piece by piece with that Salisi bitch. It was obvious to Michael that Gaia didn't love her father very much by her tone and expression. What did your minion find out? That was the weird thing. From the information I gathered, I realized that most of the wealth in the treasury was going to sustain the demand for food. And what made me loathe that bastard of a king was, most of the food we bought went to the prisons, to feed the prisoners. Shocking, right? I know. My mother died when I was 6 months old, but I learned that when she was ruling, Nagaland was prosperous and a powerful kingdom. One of the reasons for my mother's success was her rules. My mother made sure that rapists, murderers who killed innocent Nagas, and all other kinds of evil bastards die painfully. Because of that, everyone feared committing a crime, which kept the prisons from overflowing with Nagas. What changed? Michael asked as her face twitched in anger. Salisi and Zanali. They cancelled many of my mother's rules, saying that it was too cruel. My spineless father went along with them. Not all who commit a crime deserves to die, Gaia, but when the crimes were killing innocent Nagas and slaughtering children, they deserved to die. You killed an entire sect for the Rosewood village. You're right, those deserve to die, except Salisi and Zanali thought they deserve a second chance. 5 years for a Naga who slaughtered an innocent family and 3 years for serial rapists. What kind of punishment was that? Those bastards treated the prison like a picnic spot, and my father sold my mother's kingdom piece by piece to feed those evil bastards. It drove me crazy, and that was why I always ventured out to calm my nerves, because I feared I would kill that bitch and my half-sister if I stayed in my castle. You still didn't say what you did to deserves to get your meridians broke. She took a deep breath after Michael's question and stayed quiet for a few seconds before continuing. I wanted to bring Nagaland back to its former glory after I take the throne which rightfully belongs to me. But when I returned to Nagaland after one of my adventures, I heard my father and most of the ministers chose Zanali as the next queen and decided to marry me to some prince of a distant kingdom. That's cold. Why did they choose Zanali instead of you? It was true that Gaia is an arrogant bitch, but she was also the rightful heir to the throne. From what he heard from Gaia, Michael could tell that her father is too soft to be a king, and Nagaland seemed like a place that needed a queen like Gaia rather than a softy like her father, who was clearly controlled by Salisi and Zanali. Because my father loved her more than me and Zanali earned the people's support with her fake charity works and donations, she seemed like a bitch to me back there. That was her real face, human. I should have killed her years ago, yet she broke your meridians. How was she able to do that? If my memory serves me right, you must have been stronger than her. Gaia's face reddened in anger. When I heard they chose Zanali to be the next queen, I lost my temper and questioned my father about all the debts and revealed the kingdom's status, crime rates, and every dirty little secret he was hiding, in front of every noble and minister. Except instead of answering, that bastard threw me out of my castle. My own fucking castle, but not before I killed his fucking guards and broke his jaw. She made a boxing posture and punched the air. So you broke your father's jaw. Things are getting interesting. After hearing about her father and what he was planning to do, Michael couldn't blame Gaia for losing her temper. He wanted to feed the prisons despite the wellness of my kingdom. so I went straight to every prison in the kingdom and burned them to the ground before they could do more damages to my mother's kingdom. When I burned down the last prison, I lost most of my arch energy and power. That bitch Salisi and Zanali attacked me at my weakest state. They captured me and brought me to my father. Do you know the sentence he gave me?" Michael shook his head, but he had a feeling that it was not a community service. Tears already started to roll out of her eyes. He wanted to kneel down and ask for forgiveness from the kin of the evil bastards I burned down. I'd rather die than kneel down and beg for forgiveness. And human. She paused for a moment, and when Michael looked at her face, he saw her eyes welling up. "You were wrong, human. Zanali didn't break my meridians, my father did." "My own father." She then stopped walking and dropped to the ground in sorrow. Her father's betrayal and actions saddened her more than they angered her. "I may have a father, half-sister, and half-mother, human, but am no different than you, an orphan. I was, am, and always will be." This was the first time he saw Gaia crying, and honestly, it startled him to see her like this. However, he hatched a quick plan to exploit this situation in his favor. "For what it's worth, I think of you as my family, Gaia." He wiped the tears off from her face and wrapped his hand around her shoulder to console her. Just like he planned, her loyalty towards him jumped from 30% to 42%. She was far from being his family, but a simple lie made Gaia's loyalty towards him increase by 12% in one go. He would only consider her as his friend when she reaches at least 70% loyalty, and until then, he decided to lie to her more often to increase her loyalty. "Now take this pill, you'll feel better. Besides, you look horrible when you cry." He chuckled as Gaia quickly pushed his hand around and punched him in the shoulder. "You bastard. Give me that." He honestly preferred this version of Gaia to the silent, sulking Gaia. And by giving the fake pill, he managed to soothe her sadness and anger. "So are you going to join the Guardians?" After swallowing the pill and wiping away her tears, she asked. "About that, what is this Guardian Guild?" Surprisingly, Gaia didn't seem shocked but let out a stifled laugh. "What would you do without me? Guardian Guild is like the Adventurers Guild but more powerful and influential. They are the law enforcers of the Elon continent. In other words, if you want to rule this kingdom, they will stop you unless you join them and abide by their laws." Law enforcers, he was allergic to that word. Back on Earth, the law and the law enforcers were his biggest enemies. However, on Earth, he had no power to fight the law units head-on, but in this world, he had all the means to destroy them if they stood in his way. He dreamt to control and rule this world from the shadows, and he wouldn't let anyone stop him from turning that dream into reality. Where were they when Ralphie burned down an innocent village? They may have done something if anyone survived the massacre and complained to the Guardian Guild. Even then, it was highly unlikely because the Guardian Guild would send someone to investigate and they will take their sweet time. When they finish investigating, either Ralphie would have killed the witness or he would have bribed someone in the guild to make his case disappear. You have to be rich and powerful to get justice from the Guardian Guild, human. The Guardian Guild may have served everyone when it was found, but now, it's all politics. And that's why no matter how great you are, you can't become a high guardian. At best, you can become a bronze-tier guardian. Typical. It was not a big surprise to him to hear about the Guardian Guild because it was like every law enforcement unit on Earth, slow, inefficient, and plagued by politics. Of course, they kept everyone in order on Earth, and all hell would break if there wasn't a law unit like police in a country. Considering Michael was a criminal, he never liked the law enforcers and never would. Chapter 61. The cloud failed to blanket the sky. Instead, it was irregular, chaotic in where it chooses to be thick or sparse. In the gaps, the sky had darkened. The clouds were no longer white or pale or gray. Instead, they were blackened shadows that shift with the wind. There were times they moved just enough to reveal the half-moon, but for the most part, there was no light in their way to the sunrise sect. Eventually, both of them reached the outskirts of the sect and started to climb the steps leading to his house. During their chat, Michael learned that the Guardians is categorized into 5 classes or tiers: Bronze class, Silver class, Gold class, Platinum class, and finally the Palladium class. The Bronze class was the lowest in the order and the powerful class was the Palladium. The blonde he met was a silver-class guardian, as she wore a silver pendant on her neck, while Gaia's sister managed to earn a spot in the bronze class. But after looking at the way the blonde treated the Zanali, Michael was sure that Zanali would get promoted to the silver class soon. When they finished climbing the steps, he vaguely saw the structure of his house because of the darkness. Gaia was extremely tired after a long walk and couldn't wait to jump on her bed and have a shut-eye. She mustered her strength and rushed towards the house, but when she was about a few meters away from the door, Michael grabbed her hand and stopped her. "Don't make a sound, come with me." Although she couldn't see his face clearly, she could sense the seriousness in his tone. She walked with him without making any loud noise and arrived behind a huge tree. "Human, what is it?" "There are assassins waiting for me in the house." "What? How?" "I didn't see anyone, how could you tell?" Gaia's heart skipped a beat and her body slightly trembled. She was no longer a powerful cultivator, and now she had to depend on ghosts to survive. "I can sense them. There are 6 powerful assassins inside the house to kill me." "Shit, what do we do?" "You can kill them using some of your weird spells, right?" Gaia believed that he could always perform some miracles and save the day, but she vaguely saw him shook his head. "It's not that simple," he said, and opened up the system. System, status window, host, Michael cultivation level, body refining stage, level 5 experience points, 65,000/300000 badass points, 18,000 skills and spells, wind blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL1 ignition, LVL1 lightning dash, LVL1 energy devolver, LVL1 occupation, disciple of sunrise sect status, healthy goals, control the world utility function, banker, LVL2, ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 5 badass points, special trait, 5-star alchemist subordinates, Gaia, loyalty level 42%, base of operation, sunrise sect, system. If I upgrade the environment scanning to the next level, can I sense the cultivation level of the assassins inside? Yes, the upgrade cost will be 9,000 badass points. Jane, you bitch. You will pay for every single badass point you're going to cost me. System, upgrade the scanner to the next level. I want to know the power level of those who are waiting to kill me. It didn't take long to figure out who sent assassins to kill him. Until now, he only made 2 enemies, Selena and Jane. If Selena wanted him dead, she had the power to kill him herself, and there was no need to send assassins after him, which left him with only one culprit, Jane. He gritted his teeth and endured the acute pain in his mind. After environment scanning reached level 2, he was able to sense the cultivation level of the assassins inside without laying eyes on them. However, when he sensed their cultivation level, dark lines appeared on his forehead. 6 level 10 body strengthening stage. System, can level 4 responsive shield withstand the attacks of the assassins? No, the level 4 responsive shield can only withstand the attacks of anyone on or under the body strengthening stage level 8. Level 5 responsive shield can withstand the attacks of the cultivators from the body strengthening stage level 10. Let me guess, I don't have enough points. Yes, this situation made him realize one of his biggest weaknesses, but at the moment, he had no time to be angry at himself. He then took a deep breath and calmed himself. Just after a few seconds of picking his brain, a small grin appeared on his face. Alchemy, my darling. System, I want to buy a potion. A who? The system sounded curious for a moment. How much is the Devil's Breath potion in your store? 5,000 points. How much are Bugbear Tooth, King's Basil, Silver Bay Leaf, Serpent Barbs? 2,000 points, but the system recommends the host to buy the potion. There was a hint of tension in the system's voice, but Michael's grin grew wide. No thanks, just give me the ingredients I asked. Does the host really wish to buy the herbs and not the potion? You bloody system, are you trying to swindle me? I know what you're up to. You wanted to make me buy the potion and an antidote separately so you could take all my badass points away. It's not going to happen. Just give me the damn ingredients I asked. I can brew the antidote and the potion myself. The Devil's Breath potion from the system can weaken the enemies for 5 minutes, whereas the potion brewed by the host will only weaken the enemies for 2 minutes. The Devil's Breath will weaken any body strengthening stage cultivators by 5 levels. System. That means those assassins will become level 5 body strengthening stage cultivators for 2 whole minutes after breathing the potion. 2 minutes is more than enough for me to kill them. Human, what's the plan? Should I scream and wake up the entire sect? When Michael finished his purchase and closed the system, he heard Gaia's idea. I have a plan that not involves you screaming. What is it? She leaned forward and asked. Devil's breathe. He conjured flame on his hand to brew the devil's breath using the ingredients he bought from the system. I never heard of such a potion. What's it do? She curiously peeked at the flame and the house from hiding behind the tree. Michael was cautious not to alert the waiting assassins and stood behind the tree to hide the light coming from the flame. Gaia waited curiously for another 5 minutes and saw him pour a dark red ooze into a glass vial and a silvery liquid into another vial before he put away the flame. How do you feel about using the Mark III? He pulled his sleeves up and showed her the grappling hook. Even though the sky was dark, she could vaguely see the silver linings on the device around his wrist. You want me to use this? Heck yeah. Finally. Shoo, in her excitement, she almost shouted. Does the host wish to give the Mark III grappling hook to the subordinate Gaia? Yes, only for a moment. He then removed the grappling hook from his wrist and put it on Gaia's wrist. Just aim at, I know how to use it, human, I saw you do it, she said confidently. Alright, reach the top of the house and pour the potion down through the roof without alerting the assassins. They have to breathe the potion for a few seconds for the potion to work. What if it stinks and they run away before breathing it in? The potion is odorless and the darkness will conceal the color of the potion. Wonderful, let's go and kill those fuckers. And Gaia, he stopped her after pouring down the potion, barricade the back door. We don't want our guests to escape, do we? Of course, we don't. Leave that to me. Gaia nodded excitedly and sneaked her way around the house to reach the rooftop using the Mark III grappling hook. He waited for her to reach the rooftop and just as she said, she used the grappling hook perfectly and landed on the rooftop without making a loud noise. Michael then walked towards the door and before he entered the house, he drank the antidote so the devil's breath wouldn't weaken him. After a few seconds, he sensed the assassin's cultivation power slowly declining. The devil's breathe is working. Time to greet to unwanted guests. Creak. The door made a creaking sound when he opened it. He didn't forget to lock the door after entering his house. Then he took a few steps forward and retrieved his seal knife from the system storage. Guys, you can come out from hiding. 6 body strengthening level 10 assassins to kill me? I'm honored. When the moment he sensed everyone became level 5 body strengthening stage cultivators, he started to count down in his mind. There are 2 of you under my bed, 1 behind the sofa, 1 on the kitchen, and 2 of you are hiding behind the curtain. After a few seconds, he saw 6 figures appearing before him one by one. How did you know? It doesn't matter. What matters is you were dumb enough to mess with you shouldn't have and now, you're going to lose your life. One of the assassins opened their mouth and spoke. Even though Michael couldn't clearly see their faces, he could vaguely notice their costumes resemble the ninja costumes back on Earth. But thinking that he's about to kill the assassins in ninja costume, he laughed. Ha 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 ha. His laughter confused the assassins. Check your cultivation level. You're no longer at level 10. When he stopped laughing, his face turned serious and cold. The assassins were initially for a second, they thought he was mumbling in fear, but when they checked their cultivation level, their eyes went wide and their legs trembled in terror. And do you know what that means? His grip on the knife tightened and the killing intent in his pitch-black eyes risen. The devil's breath was a dangerous potion that would lower someone's cultivation level without even the target realizing until it's too late. The darkness prevented Michael from seeing the terrified expressions on their faces after they checked their cultivation level. It means you're shit out of luck. Chapter 62, Diddle, Diddle. Above Michael and the assassins, Gaia was watching the scene through the roof. Although she couldn't see the scene below clearly because of the pitch-black darkness, the lightning bolts around Michael's hand provided enough light for her to see the assassins taking out their daggers. So, even though they were stunned to see their cultivation level suddenly drop by 5 levels, they refused to believe a body refining stage, level 5 cultivator could harm them in any way. Plus, they thought they had the advantage in numbers. When the last word of his killing slogan escaped his mouth, he disappeared from the place he was standing. Pulch. The assassins saw one of them got stabbed by Michael. The one who got stabbed quickly tried to grab Michael before he turned into a lightning bolt and disappeared again. He's fast. Watch your backs. Michael previously aimed his knife to stab the assassin in the heart, but he was able to see his movements and dodge at the last movement. Yet, instead of being shocked, a small grin appeared on Michael's face as he discovered the extent of his lightning dash spell's current capabilities, 90 seconds. He dashed around the assassins while counting in his head. 1. Behind, pulch. Pulch. Michael used his full speed and stabbed one assassin in the shoulder and the neck. The pain made the assassin a little slow, and when he tried to dodge again, he felt an intense pain in his neck and his legs dropped to the ground. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 10 cultivator. The reward is 40,000 experience points as well as 1,000 badass points. Ding. The host has successfully killed a powerful cultivator above his level for the first time. The reward is 1 gift box. Attack him together. After seeing the comrade falling, the rest of the assassins circled Michael and leaped at him to attack at once. Why isn't he moving? From above, Gaia saw Michael standing there without dashing away as the assassins got closer and closer. Pulch. 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 Because the assassins leaped at him at once, Michael easily grabbed one assassin by the hand and continuously stabbed him in the chest. Die. However, when the rest of the assassins stabbed Michael in the back, their daggers couldn't get to his body and they were stopped by a light blue shield around Michael's body. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 10 cultivator. The reward is 40,000 experience points as well as 1,000 badass points, 60 seconds, 4 to go. Whoosh. The remaining 4 assassins were momentarily stunned when they saw the shield. They quickly tried to move out of Michael's grab and they were able to get away except one. From above, Gaia fired the grappling hook at one of the assassins as the grappling hook hit the assassin in the back and slowed him down. Michael used the assassin's momentary clumsiness and grabbed him by the neck from behind. Then, without wasting a second, he slit the assassin's throat and kicked his body towards the remaining 3 assassins. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 10 cultivator. The reward is 40,000 experience points as well as 1,000 badass points, 50 seconds. Ignitia, the 3 assassins dashed away from the body as they didn't want to be slowed down. Yet, when the body got closer to them, the body exploded and the bits and pieces splashed on their faces. Awesome. Gaia never expected Michael would blast the dead body and use the blood and body parts as a distraction. Pulch. 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 Because the splattered blood hit them on their eyes, which were the only part uncovered by their costume, their vision got blurred and 2 assassins instinctively moved their hands to wipe off the blood. Michael used this opportunity and stabbed both of them in the chest using the lightning dash spell to speed his movements. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 10 cultivator. The reward is 40,000 experience points as well as 1,000 badass points. In his rush, he stabbed one in the throat and ended the life, but the second assassin survived because he was stabbed through the ribs. Michael didn't stop his movements to end his life but turned his focus on the last assassin who remained without suffering any wounds. Pulch. Pulch. When Michael and the last assassins were dashing and fighting, Gaia used the grappling hook to hit the assassin who survived Michael's attack. The grappling hook was not a weapon and it was certainly not enough to kill him, but she kept firing it at the assassin's wound to keep him from escaping or conjuring a spell. The last assassin saw Gaia torturing his comrade from above and wanted to end Michael's life soon. 30 seconds. The last assassin proved troublesome as he was able to dodge and evade Michael's knife and lightning bolts. Die. The assassin's hands suddenly glowed and his dagger let out an unearthly humming sound. Ah, human. Gaia shouted, seeing Michael's body sent flying by the last assassin. Michael's body hit the nearby wall and dropped to the ground. The assassin wasted no time and dashed at him to finish him off quickly. Cough, cough, the assassin saw him struggling to get up and coughing. He thrust his dagger straight between Michael's eyes, pulch. Just when his dagger was about to touch Michael's skin, he coughed up blood and experienced a sharp pain in his chest. He slowly looked down at his chest to see Michael's dagger sticking out of his chest. Pulch. 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 You. When the assassins realized that Michael was faking his injury, it was too late as he coughed up more blood. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 10 cultivator. The reward is 40,000 experience points as well as 1,000 badass points. I was just faking with you, Michael chuckled and withdrew his knife from the assassin's chest. These were the words the assassin heard before closing his eyes. 10 seconds, where do you think you're going? Boom. When Michael turned around to deal with the last assassin, he saw Gaia land directly on his back. While Gaia was crushing the assassin with her knees, he activated the lightning dash and stabbed the assassin in the back, shoulders, legs, and arms. Michael kept stabbing him in the body, but he avoided going for the kill as he wanted to ask one last question. Considering the assassin lost most of his blood and suffered many wounds, he didn't worry about the devil's breath time limit. You're dying, but I can still hurt you, he said and stabbed the assassin in the collarbone. Who hired you? Kill me, the assassin stuttered. Gaia punched him in the face while Michael twisted his knife to inflict more pain. Usually, I don't like torturing, but if you don't give me an answer, I will make you suffer, h. The pain he felt when Michael twisted his knife was unbearable and the assassin blurted out the name in agony. Ja-ni. Thank you. Michael took his knife from the assassin's collarbone and stabbed him right between the eyes to end his suffering. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 10 cultivator. The reward is 40,000 experience points as well as 1,000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is the body-strengthening stage, level 6, host, Michael cultivation level, body refining stage, level 6 experience points, 5,000/300000 badass points, 15,000 skills and spells, wind blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignitia, LVL1 lightning dash, LVL1 energy devolver, LVL1 occupation, disciple of sunrise sect status, healthy goals, control the world utility function, banker, LVL2, ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 5 badass points, wealth, 440,000 gold special. Trait, 5-star alchemist subordinates, Gaia, loyalty level 42%, base of operation, sunrise sect, the host has one gift remaining to open. Let me deal with the bodies first. Michael exited the system. He conjured a flame in his hand and saw his walls, carpet, and his sofas were painted in red with the assassin's blood. Fortunately, he knew a potion that would get rid of the bloodstains, but if he wants to get rid of the bodies, he had to get his hands dirty. I'll go to the forests and bury the bodies, you stay here. Other than burying the bodies, he had another thing in his mind which he didn't want Gaia to know. Aren't you going to inform the sect? No, they must not know what happened here. Until I return, don't let anyone, who would come at this time of the night. But if they do, yeah, I won't let anyone in. Don't take too long, I can't sleep if the house reeks of blood. Gaia twitched her nose and pointed out the mess he made. I know a way to clean all this blood, but first, I have to deal with the bodies. Chapter 63. Leaving Gaia back at his home, Michael rushed towards the thick forest near the sect premises. The forest was pitch black and filled with nothing but sounds of insects. With the help of his environment scanning skill, he was able to move through the forest without tumbling down. After he came quite far into the forest, Michael stopped running and climbed the top of a tree using his grappling hook. The Naga girl took a liking to the grappling hook as she reluctantly parted with it when he took it back. Sitting on the branch, he used the environment scanning to make sure there's no one around him because he's going to put a dangerous but important plan on the motion. System, open the gift box. The blue box wrapped in red ribbons flashed across his eyes, and 4 cards jumped out from the box. 2 spell learners, special fertilizer. He read the first 2 cards when his gaze landed on the 3rd card, he grinned ear to ear. The bow of Legolas, the dark wooden bow, looked nothing extraordinary from the outside look, but Michael knew this bow killed many powerful orcs in the Lord of the Rings movies. Ding! The host must be at least 70% proficient in archery to use the bow. Just as he was grinning at the bow and imagining himself running around firing a volley of arrows upon his enemies, the system bombarded him with a surprise warning. Seriously? Let me guess, I need to buy something from you, duh. Yes. He could swear he heard a snarky reply from the system before the familiar robotic voice. How much? The system recommends the host to buy the archery pack, which contains special types of arrows and book of archery. By using the book of archery, the host will become 80% proficient in all long-range weapons. It does sound cool, but give me the price first. 24,999 badass points only. The fuck? Why don't you round up to 25k? You sound more and more like the TV ads. System, first of all, Michael knew he has not enough points to buy the archery pack, and second, even if he does, he wouldn't buy the pack at the moment because he needed the badass points to accomplish more significant tasks. Putting the bow in his storage, he stared at the fourth and final item he got from the gift box. The card had 2 swords on the surface as he began to read the description. The host will be able to dual-wield swords and gain 70% proficiency in sword mastery. He breathed out as his face brimmed with a smile, for he was filled with glee. I always wanted to fight using swords. It seems I got my wish. Hey system, does this skill come with swords? No, the host have to buy the swords separately. Alright, my plan does require a new set of skills. System, list all the swords I can buy between 50 to 800 badass points. He waited for a few seconds and the system showed him nothing, not a single sword. The system recommends the host not to be stingy with the badass points. Stingy? Do you know how hard it is to earn XP and badass points without pissing off powerful people? Doesn't matter, how much are the least expensive swords you got? 10,000 badass points. Does it come with the pair or do I have to buy another one to dual wield? Yes, the host has to buy 2 swords if you wish to dual wield. After hearing the system, he wanted to shout at the system, but soon, he realized he doesn't always depend on the system to accomplish things. System, I can use any 2 swords, right? Yes, but the system recommends the host to buy swords from the store, and why is that? The items brought from the system's store are unique and the host will not find them in the world. Plus, the items in the store are superior in quality. I know system, but I have already taken a loan. So I must spend each point very carefully and I need badass points to buy something else for my grand plan. What is that, host? Michael took a deep breath and asked the system, I need a new suit. I'm applying the following filters. The suit must be black and under 8,000 badass points. Does the host wish the suit to have a special ability? Special ability suits cost more. If there's a suit with special ability under 8,000, you'll be glad. The suit with special ability starts on 20,000 badass points. Then no thanks, I settle for suits with no special abilities for now. The system started to search for the suits as he saw the loading icon before his eyes. He eagerly waited for the system to come up with the new suit. A few moments after, 3 iconic suits appeared before him. The Zorro costume, the X-Men suit from the X-Men Last Standing, and the Nightwing suit from the Titans. Although I like Zorro, it doesn't suit the purpose, pun intended. He put away the Zorro costume and stared at the X-Men suit and the Nightwing suit. Compared to the X-Men suit, the Nightwing suit seemed more refined and cool. The only thing that irked him was the blue Nightwing logo on the center and the blue linings on the armor. Let's put on the other items and see which one looks intimidating. System, do you have the cape of Dr. Doom? Michael wished the system to say yes, as Dr. Doom was one of his favorite Marvel characters. He always wanted to dress as Dr. Doom and go trick or treat like normal kids when he was little, but until he reached this world, he didn't have much chance to enjoy his life to the fullest. The black-colored Dr. Victor Von Doom cape will cost the host 1,000 badass points. Good. Put the cape on both the suits. I need to preview before finalizing my purchase. He couldn't hold his excitement. The system luckily cost him nothing to put the cape on the suits, therefore, he was able to design what kind of suit he needs without worry about the badass points. With Dr. Doom's cape and hood, the Nightwing suit looked way better than the X-Men suit. Looking at the Nightwing suit, he almost decided to go on with this suit, but he still had to buy one important piece to finalize his new suit. System, give me the black mask from the Birds of Prey film, 500 badass points. Thank God, I thought it's going to cost more. System, show me how I would look in both suits. In a flash of time, two naked bodies appeared before him, and then the system put the Smen's suit and the Nightwing's suit on him. Just like his previous thought, when the cape and hood added, the latter looked way better in his opinion. As the last piece, the black mask covered his face. Wow, the black skull mask really looked intimidating under the hood and perfectly suited for his purpose, which was to inflict fear into his enemies and spread his legend. Under the two suits, the cost of buying them emerged. The X-Men's suit surprisingly cost 7,500 with the cape and black mask, while the Nightwing's suit cost was 7,000 badass points. System, I'll buy the Nightwing armor, and after that, I need 4 more items. Does the host wish to equip the suit of armor now? Not yet. I need rock feather, grim aconite, ent bark, and black metallic spray paint. Does the host wish to brew the fear potion? He wouldn't have thought it would be possible for him to create something similar to the fear toxin that Scarecrow used back on Earth. Although Michael learned chemistry as a part of his training, he was not a master in chemistry. However, this changed when he learned the Book of Alchemy. After becoming 5-star alchemist, he knew the properties of a vast amount of herbs and plants in this world, as well as which can be used to concoct pills or brew potions. With this knowledge, he was able to figure out the formula to a potion that would induce fear. Yes, 800 badass points. He'll take them. After buying everything he needed, he exited the system and started to work on the suit. He first painted the blue Nightwing logo with his metallic black spray paint, and then he painted everything that had blue with the help of his alchemy flame. Shit, I have to look for a bat cave. Working on top of a tree branch is not a straightforward thing. Chapter 64, I cannot wait to wear this bad boy and terrorize my enemies. Ha ha ha. Michael evilly laughed, looking at his suit of armor. He then stored the armor in his system storage and started to brew the fear toxin. He was being extremely cautious not to inhale the toxin. As a precaution, he wore the black mask he just bought. Unlike the devil's breath, the fear toxin had no antidote. If he inhaled the toxin, he would experience hallucinations and absolute terror for a few hours. According to his calculations, the weaker the cultivation level, the stronger the effects would be. For an instance, the fear toxin would affect a body refining stage cultivator for 3 to 5 hours, whereas it would affect a body strengthening stage cultivator for 2 to 4 hours. After 15 minutes of careful brewing, he took a medium-sized bottle and poured a black goo-like liquid into the bottle. The fear toxin had a low boiling point, so it would vaporize very quickly and spread to a large area in a matter of seconds, which was perfect for his upcoming plans. Damn! Alchemy is so overpowered. The only thing he lacked to milk full use of his alchemy talent was the ingredients and herbs. Many powerful, overpowered pills and potions required very rare herbs and precious ingredients, which he currently had only one way to get: system store. However, the ingredients and herbs in the system store were extremely costly. Therefore, he decided to grow them old-fashioned, since he could buy the seeds from the store cheaper than the grown herbs. As for the items such as wyvern claws, dragon scales, and items he can't grow like herbs, he planned to buy them using gold coins in auction houses. The fight between the assassins made him realize his biggest weakness, that is depending on the system too much. Anytime he could run out of badass points and face a situation like that again, and if he had to solely depend on the system, he would be screwed. Because of this, he decided to take advantage of the world and the people around him. For instance, he planned to grow a large herbal garden at the sect for his alchemy rather than buying from the system. I may as well brew the blood cleaner. Using the grappling hook, he comfortably landed on the ground and began his searches for the herbs required to brew the blood cleaner. He collected most of the herbs near the area where he buried the bodies of the assassins, and now only needed a particular mushroom as the last ingredient. There it is. Considering the mushroom had a fluorescent effect, he was able to quickly find the mushroom. He carefully plucked a couple of glowing green mushrooms and put them into his system storage. Huh. At the moment, Gaia noticed a shadow outside through the window. In the darkness, she couldn't make out the face but barely saw the figure with the help of the half-moon. Bastard didn't even give me his knife. she cursed Michael and picked up the vase to defend her. "Hey, it's me," opened the door, only now hearing Michael's voice. She heaved a sigh of relief. "What's the code?" "There's no code, you damn snake," she chuckled inside and continued to mess with him. "You have only 2 tries remaining, what's the code?" "Gaia is a bi." Before he could finish his words, she slammed open the door with a furious expression on her face. "What did you call me?" "I was going to say Gaia is a big girl, what did you think?" He pushed her away and entered the house. "You fucking liar. You were going to say Gaia is a bitch, weren't you?" "Your words, not mine." Ignoring her scowl, he took out the blood cleaner, which was a milky white potion, and poured it in the bloodstains. "What is that smell?" Gaia twitched her nose and sniffed the air. "What smell?" He kept pouring the potion as the bloodstains began to disappear. "I don't know, it smells like paint and metally." Michael's hand stopped pouring the potion when he heard her and looked at her coming towards him, sniffing the air. "It's coming from you but not from this potion." She walked closer to him and took his hand. "Hey, what are you doing?" She sniffed his hands and nodded. "Yes, it's definitely coming from you." Michael never expected a snake like her to have a sense of smell like a dog. Even though he washed away the paint stains on his hands and could no longer smell the pain, he realized she could still smell the metallic paint. "Of course it's coming from me. Do you think potions magically appear? One of the herbs I used to brew the blood cleaner smells like paint. That what you're smelling? Well, make it go away. It stinks." She put his hand back and loafed into the sofa since the blood on it now disappeared. "Do you smell everything that stinks?" "Thop." She threw a piece of broken wood at him instead of answering as he chuckled a little. When he finished pouring all the blood cleaner, he heard hissing and snoring and turned to see Gaia fell asleep on the sofa. Looking at her curled figure, he went to his room and brought her bedsheets. "I should plant the seeds before they come in the morning." He left the house after covering Gaia with the bedsheet. He expected small gestures like these would help him increase her loyalty to him, and then he could finally cure her and get a powerful subordinate. The herbal garden of the Sunrise sect was previously cleaned off by him and now had nothing but grass and weed. For now, this small garden would do, but in the future, I'm going to create the largest herbal garden in Breedia. The herbal garden before him was only 200 square feet in size and had no protection around it. Not that someone would rob a small garden in a declined sect. Taking out the seed pack and the compost he bought from the system, he started to get his hands dirty. Maintaining his garden would be Ricky and Daniel's job, but for now, he chose to do it. After he finished preparing the soil, he remembered about the special fertilizer he got from the system's gift box. The fertilizer was a green powder packed inside a paper bag. "System, tell me about this." "The special fertilizer will permanently increase the land's fertility and growth speed of the herbs. According to the system's calculation, the seeds would take 2 days to grow in this garden and the fertilizer would make them grow in a day. Then, it's a good thing I ordered Ricky and Daniel to buy the herbs from Sarton. It's bad for business to send back the customers on its very second day." After he met Gaia's sister and the blonde at the restaurant, he left a note and a pouch of coins for Ricky and Daniel. On the note, he ordered them to go to Sarton and buy everything he listed, as he needed the items to concoct pills and brew potions. The items were enough to keep the shop open for 2 days, and after that, the herbs in the garden would be ready to be plucked and used to make the potions and pills. Soon after, he left the herbal garden and made his way back to his house. Today was a very fruitful day. He broke through to the next level by killing the assassins. He finally bought the suit of armor for his plan, brewed the fear toxin, and planted the seeds to cut the purchasing cost of herbs. One last thing he had to do before putting his suit of armor was to get the list of all the criminals in the kingdom. If his plan to go as smoothly as he planned, he must kill some criminals and introduce his second persona to Breedia. And when everyone starts to fear and worship his second persona, he would finally end the life of the one who sent the assassins to kill him, Jane Totonk. "Since I come to this world, I killed many, but Jane, you're the first person I'm going to assassinate." Chapter 65. The very next morning, the sound of carriages and chattering of people interrupted Jack's peaceful cultivation. He had no idea where this noise was coming from. On the busiest day of his sect, there would be only 1 or 2 carriages, and even those belonging to the debt collectors. Yet now he heard continuous commotion and noise of carriages. He could no longer concentrate on cultivation. He opened his eyes and walked outside to check what's happening. What the hell? When he stepped out of his tiny room, he was welcomed by the sight of a huge number of people walking towards their sect. Particularly, they head directly towards the place where Ghost was staying. Who are all these people and why are they coming here? Brother Jack, do you know what's going on? Some of his juniors also woke up by the commotions and they came asking Jack. I don't know, but I should go and inform the elders. Meanwhile, countless noblemen of Bradford and Sarton were all rallying into their mountain range after hearing about the 80% pure pills and potions. Some people from the influential factions had come too. As time passed, more and more people came. Soon, people filled the whole area. Some people even wanted to buy places earlier in line in front of Michael's home, but no one was willing to sell their place. What's going on? Why on earth are there so many powerful and influential people here? Raylene woke up early to make breakfast for the children and clean the sect building, and when she saw the crowd this early in the morning, she was surprised. Inside Michael's house, Gaia's eyelids twitched, and the commotion outside disturbed her slumber. Soon, she heard soft knocks on the door as she finally opened her eyes. I swear to God, if that little shit Jack. Just as she was about to finish her curse, she remembered about the store and realized the people had come before even the morning sun. Throwing aside her bedsheet and tying her hair into a ponytail, she went to open the door. The moment she opened the door, she was stunned by the crowd that greeted her. For a second, she stared at the sea of people before her speechlessly before talking. The sun hasn't even risen yet, people. Wait a few hours, Alchemist Ghost will be here with you soon, Gaia shouted out loudly. Miss Elia, I came here first, so I'll be the first person to order. I have come for the energy boosters, I want healing pills, my grandpa is dying. I want 5 revitalizing pills. Their shouts almost broke her eardrums as she shouted again, fine, stand in line. If anyone tries to cut in line, we won't open the shop, do not worry, we will behave ourselves. If anyone dares to cut in line, I will kill him. Yes, kill him. On her way to his room, she hatched a quick plan in her mind. After seeing the crowd of customers at their doorsteps on the very second day, she wanted to put her fingers in the pie. Does asking 50% on the profit is too much? Asking this question, she kicked open Michael's room door to see him peacefully sleeping on the bed. She was surprised to see him sleeping rather than cultivating, because only mortals had to sleep to refresh their minds and bodies. She wouldn't have slept if she was still a cultivator, as a few hours of meditations and cultivation would make her feel rested. However, she didn't expect a genius like Michael to sleep like a baby despite the commotion outside. Hey! Wake up! She came beside his bed and dragged the quilt away like an angry mother waking up her kid. Go away. He didn't let go of his quilt. Like many school students and workers, he failed to fight the 10 times the gravitational effect of the bed in the early morning. If he was on Earth, he had to use every minute and second honing his skills, because people on Earth would age and become sloppy at what they do with age. However, he was not on the Earth anymore. He was in a world where he could use the system to become an immortal, therefore, he wanted to enjoy little things such as morning sleep more. He didn't plan to go from place to place often, piss off powerful people and fight all the time. He intended to enjoy this life to the fullest and experience every earthly pleasure he could. However, his earthly pleasure was being currently interrupted by this princess. Don't make me pour water down on you, Ghost, because I will do it. Give me a kiss and I will wake up. He reached out his hands as his eyes were still shut. Sure thing, come closer. Instead of being angry, she sounded sweet and moved closer. He could feel the hot breath coming from her and a tint of jasmine. Although he knew she's not going to kiss him, he curiously moved closer and closer to see what she's planning. Ah, his curiosity soon answered as she took a bite out of his left ear. That's what you get for a kiss, you damn bastard. Now wake the fuck up, Ghost, we have rich goats to milk. Finally, the thought of getting richer made him jump out of his bed. Master Ghost. As Michael and Gaia were standing in the room, Daniel and Ricky came running, but when they saw Gaia, both of them halted their steps. Oh. Forgive us. Master Ghost. Ricky blushed and bowed, asking forgiveness as he thought Gaia and Michael were busy on the bed. Why the fuck are you blushing? Gaia shouted at Ricky, and when he opened his mouth, she yelled again, No, I don't even want to know. If I did, would beat the shit out of you. Come, we have a business to open. She took both Ricky and Daniel to set up her executive chair that she recently fell in love with and her workplace. Ghost, go get ready. Daniel, wait, I have another job for you, make it fast, Gaia said and walked away, leaving Daniel behind. Daniel, I want you to go and get the list of all criminals or anyone we shouldn't sell our products from the guild or anywhere you can. A while ago, he saw bounty posters on the Adventurer Guild notice board. Considering he needed to be here, he decided to ask Daniel to get the posters. However, the reason for this was not about selling his products but putting his plans in motion. As you wish, Master Ghost. Daniel didn't ask any questions as he bowed and turned to leave as Michael stopped him. Be discreet. After sending Daniel on his way to the Adventurer Guild, Michael brushed his teeth and put on his Neo robes. Human Gaia came looking for him before he steps out of his room again. Claire and the oldies are here, let's go meet them. Right at the moment, Claire and the elders were standing in the hall, and the sight of this much crowd outside the house stunned them. They knew the people were waiting for Michael, but they didn't know why they came here instead of going to his shop at Bradford. When the elders and Claire turned their gaze away from the crowd, they saw Michael as their mouths slightly opened. You had a breakthrough? Again. Elders Mila's heart skipped a beat. Only yesterday he was at the body refining stage level 5, but just in a day, they saw him reach level 6. A true genius. Brother Ghost is a freaking monster. With this rate, he would reach the next stage in a couple of months. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Just by impressing the elders and the few disciples behind them, he reaped a bunch of badass points. While the elders were staring at him shocked, Claire had a gentle smile on her face, as the more he grew, the more chance they would have to revive their sect. Sect leader Claire, elders, he greeted them with a wide grin and a nod. Sorry for not informing you about this. I would have moved the shop here if it wasn't for what happened in Bradford with Jane. I realized that if she messes with me again, it would do more than breaking her bodyguard's bones. I didn't want that, so I decided to move the shop here. I hope sect leader Claire and the elders don't mind. I wanted to inform you yesterday, but meeting with the Guardians took some time. Guardians? From the Guardian Guild? Elder Miles felt the world around him spinning in shock and dropped onto the chair behind him. What did they talk to you about, if you don't mind us asking? Elder Sandra asked with a soft voice. They asked me to become their trainee, but I rejected them. You did what? Oh my God, I'm going to die. Elder Miles screamed again and fainted on the spot, as the other elders also looked quite startled. Claire heaved a sigh of relief inside. If he left the sect to join the Guardian Guild, how could she revive her sect? Ghost, tell us everything that happened, Elder Mark asked, and the elders sat down on the sofa. Of course, elders. Just give me a moment. He grinned widely because he realized that if he concocted pills and brew potions while talking to them, he would look more badass and accumulate the much-needed badass points, not to mention the gold coins. Elia, start taking the orders, we are opening. Chapter 66, Show Off. Gaia mumbled under her breath and opened the doors to the customers waiting outside. What are you doing? Elder Sandra frowned. After taking the pills he gave her, Elder Sandra's complexion looked better and she seemed healthier than before. Multitasking, Elder Sandra. These people are waiting for me from early morning and you're here for an explanation. I can't make either of you wait any longer, Michael calmly explained and conjured the flame on one hand while sitting on the sofa to concoct the pills. It's dangerous not to solely concentrate on what you're doing, Ghost. The elders were genuinely concerned because if he made a mistake, not only him but they would also get burned by his mistake. Trust me, this is a walk in the park for me. Now, where was I? Rejecting the guardians, Elder Mark said as Michael started to tell everything that happened in the restaurant except the fact Gaia's sister is a guardian. Look, he's concocting pills while talking to the elders. I've never seen an alchemist concoct pills so casually. Yeah, I heard even the alchemy king wouldn't let anyone inside his work hall as concentration is crucial in making pills and brewing potions. Are you saying that Ghost is better than the alchemy king? He might be because alchemy king Gabriel is 50 years old, but look at him. He's not even 25. Imagine where he would be in another 25 years, just like Michael planned. The people were stunned by him multitasking and murmured among themselves. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 900 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Inside the house, Michael heard the continuous ringing of the system notification. His heart jumped in joy looking at the badass points increasing. Eventually, Michael finished telling the elders what happened with the two guardians. The elders and Claire let out a deep breath. Because they were immersed in Michael's story, they failed to notice the money he just made, but Jack was more interested in the money than Michael's story. He slowly walked to Gaia's counter and looked at the pay cubes over her shoulder. At the same, the next customer came to Gaia's counter and placed his order. Miss, I'd like to order 2 revitalizing pills, 2 arch energy boosters, and 3 healing potions, 81,000 gold. What do you think you're doing? Gaia turned back to see Jack's eyes sparkling at the amount of gold she just took from the pay cube. Can I touch it? Jack had never seen a pile of gold coins before, and in front of him, a huge pile of gold coins lighting the room with their shine. No, you can't touch it, you little shit, go away. Gaia shushed him away from the stack of gold coins. Michael noticed this scene but didn't say anything. After being shushed away by Gaia, Jack went to Ricky, who was busy taking the pills and potions from Michael's hands and delivering them to the customers. Do you need any help? Jack asked Ricky. No, my lord. I'm doing just fine. I'm not a lord, I'm just like you, a commoner. I'm Jack Roybin. What is your name? Jack reached his hand out as Ricky reluctantly shook his hand because lord or not a lord, Jack was a cultivator at the foundation stage level 4 while he was just at the arch sensing level 3. Ricky Mervan. So Ricky, how much are you earning working for Brother Ghost? Ricky was surprised by Jack's sudden blunt question, but he sighed inside and answered, 120 gold, Jack, per year? Per month. Oh. Wait. What? Jack's body shook for a second hearing Ricky. He was barely able to send 10 or 20 gold coins once a year to his home, but Ricky was earning way more than he ever could. What disturbed him more was Ricky was just a mortal while he was considered a cultivator. I wasted my life cultivating, oh God. Jack mumbled continuously and went to join Elder Miles on the sofa. All right people, we are closing the shop for today. We'll open again in 2 days and we will have more varieties of pills and potions. Spread the news. If I see anyone knocking on my door tomorrow, I won't be responsible for killing the one who knocks. Oh come on. We didn't get to order anything, this is unfair. I need healing potions to save my grandma. If you love your grandma so much, come before anyone else. Gaia yelled at the person who tried to use his dead grandma to buy pills. The ones who got to buy pills and potions left the mountains with a wide grin, while the people who didn't get the chance walked away with gloomy faces. After she shut the doors, Gaia started to count the gold coins under the shocked gazes of the elders and Claire. Jack still tried to touch the pile of gold as Elder Mark swallowed a mouthful of saliva looking at the scene. Warning. Warning. Debts of the base of operation are increasing. What the? Michael's smile disappeared hearing the warning beeps inside his mind. He then entered the system to see what's going on and why is the system yelling at him. Host, Michael cultivation level, body refining stage, level 6 experience points. 5,000/300000 badass points, 16,000 skills and spells, Wind Blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 Ignitia, LVL1 Lightning Dash, LVL1 Energy Devolver, LVL1 Occupation, Disciple of Sunrise Sect Status. Healthy Goals, Control the World Utility Function, Banker, LVL2, Ratio, 1,000 Gold Coins, 5 Badass Points, Wealth, 440,000 Gold Special Trait, 5-star Alchemist Subordinates, Gaia, Loyalty Level 47%. Base of Operation, Sunrise Sect. Seriously, you're giving me warnings about base of operations and showing me my stats? Open the base of operations. Base of operation, the Sunrise Sect. Current leader, Claire Marigold. Level 1 debt, 3,057,543 gold coins. Number of members, 34. Status, declined. Legend, 20/1000, crappy old sect where a 5-star alchemist resides. What the fuck is that debt amount? Is there a bug or something in your system? Nope. Then how the hell did the amount of debt go from 450,000 to 3 million? The host should ask the sect leader. The sect took a debt with variable interest rate. Considering the sect hasn't even paid their interest and just a minute ago, they crossed a 2-year time limit. Hence, the system calculated the total debt amount and showed it to the host. Variable interest rate? 2-year time limit? Fuck. The system recommends the host to pay the debt sooner than later, or the system would deduct the host's badass points on a regular basis. Oh, come on, why would you do that? What's the connection between debt and you deducting me badass points? Michael was really frustrated by the system's blackmail and wanted to punch the system in the face. He was planning to buy new swords and renovate his house using the gold coins he earned through hard work, but now, he had to pay the debt as soon as possible. The answer is simpler than you think, host. You are not a badass if you are neck deep in debt. He really tried to calm himself by closing his eyes, but what the system said next almost made him lose his cool. Host, when are you planning to upgrade the system? The system's robotic voice sounded like it was messing with him. Let me first deal with the debt, jerk. He exited the system with a gloomy face, and Gaia noticed the change on his face. But before she could ask what's wrong, Michael turned his gaze towards Claire. Sect leader Claire, I need to ask you something. His voice brought Claire front the days of looking at the shining pile of gold. What is it, ghost? How much debt are we in? The question surprised the elders and Claire. His face didn't have his usual smile as he looked quite serious. Why are you asking that? It was quite an embarrassing subject for Claire to speak in front of the disciples and outsiders like Ricky and Elia. Knock. Knock. Suddenly someone knocked at the door and turned everyone's gaze at Michael's door. Because of that, Michael guessed the ones knocking on the door are the debt collectors. Can I have one peaceful day without someone trying to kill me or take my money? Michael sighed inside and prepared to give all his money because badass points are harder to earn than the gold coins, and badass points were more valuable compared to gold coins. The fuck? Didn't I say we closed the shop? Prepare yourself to get wrecked, you asshole, outside the door. However, Gaia had zero ideas about the ones outside, as she thought it's someone who came to buy pills or potions, ignoring her order. She clenched her fists and rushed angrily towards the door. Stop, Elia. It's not who think it is. Chapter 67. Before Gaia could mess with the newcomers, Michael waved his hand as the door opened. On the other side, he saw a group of men in fancy clothes standing, and they entered his house following a plumpy middle-aged man. Looking at the man's big belly, a wicked smile, and bald head, Michael recognized this man as the loan shark of this world. Back on Earth, he met his fair share of loan sharks. They would lend out money to anyone without asking for any official documents like a bank, but after their client took the money, the loan sharks would dry them out by collecting the money with inhuman interest rate by any means necessary. Only a few had escaped the clutches of a loan shark after taking the loan. At first, the loan sharks would look like an angel, but soon, they would turn into a devil. Greetings, sect leader Claire and elders. You never told me you have a 5-star alchemist for a disciple. Gaia counted the bodyguards behind the man and noticed all of them were at body strengthening stage level 2. Although Gaia was haughty, she knew when to back off. Therefore, she quietly walked back and stood behind Michael. Without even asking Michael's permission, the fat man kept walking around his home and touched the things like he was prizing them. As usual, the bodyguards scanned every female in the room without hiding the lust in their eyes. Michael didn't get angry at them for this because, in their line of work, they would have taken many girls as payment from their clients. Besides, there was no harm done in the bodyguards checking out the girls. Sweat drops appeared on Claire's face and her rosy cheeks turned pale. "You basically have a cash cow in your backyard, ew." The man licked his lips staring at Michael and it grossed Gaia. Then the man came in front of Michael and the elders. The bodyguards dragged Michael's sofa and placed it behind the old man to rest his bottom. Michael watched everything calmly without uttering any words and waited for the man to come to the point. "Nice sofa, very comfortable," the man said and moved his butt around the sofa, feeling every inch of the sofa. Seeing this, Gaia almost lost her cool because only she and Michael used the sofa, and at night, she used the sofa as her comfy bed. The man was practically rubbing his butt all over Gaia's bed. "Hey, look at that, bring me that. It looks comfier." The man's eyes lit when he saw Gaia's back executive chair and ordered his guards to bring it over to him like he owned the chair. "Human." Gaia gritted her teeth, but Michael gently grabbed her clenched fist and calmed her down. "Lord Vundun," Claire stepped forward and said, "My legs are hurting." Ignoring Claire, Vundun, the fat man pointed at the last remaining sofa. "Does he have a fetish for sofas?" Michael said to himself as the bodyguards dragged the sofa and placed it before Vundun. The loan shark then lifted both his legs and rested them on Michael's fancy sofa, which he bought for 100 badass points. In his mind, every badass point was precious to him, and the man used his sofa as a leg rest irked Michael. "Why are you all standing?" "Sit down," Vundun smiled and said, but the elders frowned because there were no sofas left in the home for them to sit. "What? Sitting on the ground do wonders for your bodies, system. Give me the royal luxury corner sofa set." What kind of badass would stand in front of a loan shark like a servant? And because the elders and Claire were members of his base of operation, they kinda represented him. Therefore, Michael spent 200 badass points and bought the luxurious sofa this sect has ever seen. When the elders were about to bend their knees to sit on the ground, Michael waved his hand as the royal sofa set appeared behind them. "Whoa, ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points, ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points, ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points, ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 100 badass points. Vundun and the bodyguards opened their mouths widely, looking at the pearl-white sofa with golden pillows and pads. The sofa was so big as it took up most of the hall space. That's why Michael didn't buy the sofa before. However, looking at the badass points he earned by showing off, he was glad that he bought the sofa. Gaia was the first one to appreciate its beauty as well as sit. She bounced around the sofa excitedly. Sect leader Claire, elders, Michael gestured at them and took the center seat on the sofa to directly face Vundun. Claire and elders felt tough when they were with Michael. Claire nodded and sat beside Michael while Gaia sat on Michael's other side. He was sitting between two beauties, but his eyes were locked on the loan sharks. Vundun stared at Michael again and a wide grin appeared on his face again. "So how much do we owe you, Lord Vundun?" Before Claire could open her mouth, Michael took the lead because this was his time to take the things into hands. He decided to turn his focus on turning this sect the other way around to start earning badass points. "Everything," Vundun calmly said, and for the first time since Vundun came to the house, Gaia saw Michael's expression change. Michael frowned and asked, "What do you mean everything?" "Take a look at this." One bodyguard retrieved a parchment and placed it on Vundun's hand. Vundun then threw it at Michael. Gaia looked over his shoulder and read the parchment, and the more she read, the more she was stunned by the stupidity of the elders and Claire. The parchment had many paragraphs, but Gaia read many reports like this when she was a princess. The elders and Claire basically put the entire sect's land and any income earned by the sect's land as the security deposit for the amount of 250,000 gold coins. According to this parchment, what they owned wasn't theirs but Vundun's, and technically, what Michael earned on the sect's land belonged to Vundun. We needed the gold coins to treat Elder Sandra and keep the sex door open, Claire apologetically said to Michael as he sighed. Give us a number, Lord Vundun. If there's a way for us to get released from the bonus of this agreement, I want to know, ha ha ha, why are you worried about money? You're a freaking 5-star alchemist, yes, I know that. But even a 5-star alchemist cannot provide you an infinite number of gold coins, and the agreement basically asks just that. Since my sect took a loan from you, they'll settle the debt if you give me a number, go. We'll discuss this later, Michael's stern voice made Claire shut up as Vundun rubbed his chin for a moment and shook his head. You know, I was going to settle for measly 4 million gold considering the sex status, but now, he paused and grinned ear to eat. Now, 4 millions is nowhere near enough because you're making money on my land and it's only fair for you to pay me. After all, it's my money that kept the sex door from closing, Lord Vundun, shut up. When Elder Mark tried to say something, Vundun's smile instantly disappeared as he shouted at Elder Mark. Then at the next moment, his smile returned and he looked at Michael. I'm a reasonable man who runs a business helping people in need, so I will make you a fair deal. I'll let you keep running your business on my lands and in return, I'll get, let's just say 75% of the profits you make. You can keep all the rest to yourself, are you kidding? Gaia finally had enough of Vundun and shouted. I'll take the deal, wait what? Gaia was stunned by Michael's answer, and not only her, everyone at the scene was stunned, including Vardan and his men. They didn't expect him to accept the deal so quickly. Wonderful, this is the start of a mutually beneficial relationship. So how much did you earn today? Vundun had no idea what's going on inside of Michael's head right now, and neither did anyone. Gaia, Michael turned his gaze at her as Gaia stared at him and Vundun for a moment. But soon, she realized Michael is probably planning something evil, so she decided to go along with it instead of questioning him. 600,000, well I take your word for it, men, take only 450,000. And Ghost, I'm trusting you here, don't break my trust by doing something like reporting to the Baron or leaving the sect. Of course, I can't stop you from either of those, but accidents happen, you know, it was a plain threat masked by Vundun's fake smile. Yet, even after being threatened, Michael didn't lose his cool but smiled. Why would I do that, Lord Vundun? If I'm right, you must have researched about me before coming here, and I'm sure you know, Baron's family and I are not best pals. I like you, Ghost, let's just keep it that way. Vundun smiled again and stood up to leave after the men took most of Michael's hard-earned gold coins. Let's shake hands for our new deal, Lord Vardan. Michael stepped forward and reached his hand out. Vundun was surprised by this gesture. Vundun was not a fool, he knew very well that he blackmailed and threatened the youngster before him. Vundun couldn't figure out why he looked so calm despite his threats and blackmails. Prodigies like him are known to have a quick temper and pride, as they wouldn't like to be threatened, but this youngster before him seemed not to be a typical prodigy. However, it didn't matter what he thought. As far as Vundun knew, Ghost had no known major power backing in Breedia, and even if he did, they can't touch Vundun and his company because they had no headquarters or places, as Vundun's company traveled around the continent to avoid being located by their enemies. Therefore, even if Ghost had someone behind him, they wouldn't be able to locate Vundun and his men to attack, and if they try, Vundun would burn this place to the ground when no one is expecting. Why not? Vundun smiled and shook Michael's hands before leaving the house. Lucifer will finally make his appearance in the... You're going to love this. Join my Discord to see the character images of the novel. If you want to see how hot Gaia is or how badass Michael is, head to my Discord and check the characters under Hitman with a badass system section. And don't forget to shout out for me in the Discord. Chapter 68. So, are you going to tell us what you're going to do? Gaia asked the second Vundun's figure disappeared from their sight. I'm not going to do anything. Everyone stared at Michael bewildered as Gaia tilted her head like a confused puppy. Are you fucking with me, Ghost? There's no way I'll let that motherfucker take our money. Michael patted Gaia's shoulder to calm her down. Accidents happen, Elia, accidents happen. After saying this, Michael turned towards his room and walked to his room, but before he closes his door, he stopped for a moment. I'm going to cultivate, don't disturb me. He then closed his door, leaving everyone with the question, what did he mean by accidents happen? Host, Michael cultivation level, body refining stage, level 6 experience points, 5000/300000 badass points, 17500 skills and spells, Wind Blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignitia, LVL1 lightning dash, LVL1 energy devolver, LVL1 occupation, disciple of sunrise sect status, healthy goals, control the world utility function, banker, LVL2, ratio, 1000 gold coins, 5 badass points, wealth, 690,000 gold special trait, 5-star alchemist subordinates, Gaia, loyalty level 47%. Base of operation, sunrise sect. Inside his room, he sat in a meditation posture and closed his eyes. When he opened the system, he checked the host window. System, I need a vial of chloroform, why don't the host buy herbs and brew it yourself? The system sounded angry as Michael realized the system is still holding a grudge for not buying the devil's breath from the store. He didn't know whether to laugh or yell at the system for throwing a tantrum. Oh, don't be like that, system. This time I'll buy the chloroform from you, 200 badass points. Take it. Right after, a vial with colorless liquid appeared in his hand. Is that bastard really cultivating? From the other side of the door, Michael could hear Gaia mumbling and saw her gawking through the keyhole. She was probably wondering when he was going to jump out of the window and chase after Vundun. However, Michael still sat there with closed eyes and sending a stream of air with chloroform mixed in towards Gaia. Since chloroform had a distinct smell and Gaia had an acute sense of smell, he made sure the amount of chloroform he vaporizes and sent towards her is limited. Eventually, when the sun disappeared below the horizon, Gaia fell asleep on the ground due to the effect of the chloroform. Sorry, Snakey, this is something I have to do alone. When he was about to stand up and jump out of the window, the system stopped him. Does the host plan to put on your new suit of armor and kill Vundun? As a matter of fact, I am. Then you should do one last thing, host. Amidst Fark woods far away from the sunrise sect, a small party of men was navigating through the path not by sight yet by their memory. Around them, the dark woods stand as noble black knights, fresh from the fields of legend. Although the sound of heavy downpour reverberated the forest, the thick canopy prevented the rain from bestowing its full wrath on the group. Despite the rain and the darkness, the group kept moving through the woods. Lord Vundun, do you really think that kid has no backing? Without major power behind him, how the hell did he reach the 5-star level? It was Vundun's group. They would always use the jungle and thick forest as their preferred route instead of roads. That way, no one could follow them and guess where they were going. Impositive that he has no major backing, Remus. My guess is, he stumbled upon a heavenly treasure and used it to reach the 5-star level. There's no point in asking how he reaches that level, that's not our concern. As far I'm concerned, he's our golden goose. We shouldn't kill it but patiently take its golden egg 1 by 1 inch. What if he runs away from the sect? Then we will kill the male disciples and sell the girls to the slave traders. Girls like Claire would fetch us a sizable sum of money, after we each take turns with them. The bodyguards and Vundun laughed evilly without knowing the danger upon them. Typical, Vundun and his group steps halted by a sudden unearthly voice. What? What is that? They immediately took a defensive stance and looked around. There was fear in their eyes because the voice was not of a human but it sounded supernatural and frightening. It's not dying, the creepy voice echoed through the forest again. Who the fuck is that? Come out, that scares vermin like you. They had no clue where the voice was coming from but they were sure it did not belong to a human and that's what scared them the most. But the moments before, it's up there. They noticed branches above them swaying and they all looked up branch to branch but the darkness of the forest prevented them from seeing clearly. However, they all could vaguely see a dark shadow jumping around from branch to branch like a big spider monkey. That scares the most. Get down, you fuck. Vundun yelled looking up. His legs couldn't stop shaking in overwhelming fear. In here, Vundun and his group jumped back in fear when the voice sounded very close to them. Their bodies shook violently as overwhelming fear lowered their senses. Slowly, they lowered their heads and saw a humanoid figure standing before them. The figure had mysterious black armor and a black hood covered its face but they could vaguely see the skinless face. Through the holes in the place where eyes should be, they saw 2 red lights staring at them. They felt like their very souls were looked at. What are you? None of them couldn't sense its cultivation level. Vundun and the bodyguards agitated when they saw the figure raising its hands at them. Zzzzzzzzzzzzzzh. Another unearthly sound emerged from the figure as cracks of lighting coiled around its hand. What? Ho! The weapons they had in their hands flew directly at the figure without their control. They tried to hold back their weapons such as swords and spears, but an invisible force seized the weapons from them. The weapons landed on the figure's feet as it slowly stepped towards them. The red eyes, terrifying face, and the ghostly voice made them think of the devil they heard in the stories. Not the devil of Earth, but this world's devil, ha ha ha. The figure's evil laughter echoed through the forest. Vundun was the weakest of the group, so when he heard the laughter, he wet his trousers. You're right, welcome to hell, ah. Vundun screamed as the figure disappeared from their sight, but in the next moment, he felt something warm splash on his face. He turned to see Remus' headless body clumsily move around for a moment before collapsing onto the ground. Right after he saw Remus die, the figure appeared next to another bodyguard and crushed his head with its bare hand. The figure struck the fear of God in their hearts and plummeted their senses and courage. Every time the figure disappeared and appeared again, a bodyguard died a horrible death. Vundun's instincts told him to run without looking back, but his legs refused to move. When the figure snapped his last bodyguard's neck like a twig, he threw the dead body away and turned its gaze towards him. Vundun stumbled upon a log and fell down as the figure walked towards him. Each step the figure took forward made Vundun's heart pounce against his chest. You and I, the figure spoke looking at him, are in the same line of work. The figure paused every time for a moment before speaking the next word. You collect debts. The figure came upon him and lifted him by his neck. Vundun's legs floated on the air as he struggled to breathe through the figure's grasp. I collect souls. The last thing Vundun felt before everything turned black was the sharp pain right between his eyes. Throwing aside Vundun's dead body, the figure looked around to see its handiwork. Then the figure gaze landed on the tree log that Vundun stumbled. It slowly walked at the log and crouched beside it. On the log, the figure etched the letter L using its sharp claw. At this exact moment, coincidentally, a bolt of lightning struck the nearby, and following the lightning, a loud thunderclap echoed through the forest. Somewhere else in the Elon continent, a lonely figure sat atop the mountain peak, eyes closed. The onshore breezes climbed the mountain slopes until the air became cool enough to condense its vapor to rain and showered the mountain peak and the figure. The man's golden hair fluttered in the icy breeze, and his face was a symbolization of peace and serenity. He seemed calm as a peaceful river. Yet, his peaceful face suddenly showed an expression of concern as he abruptly opened his eyes. An evil has born. Chapter 69 System Version 2. 0 Host, Michael Cultivation Level, Body Refining Stage, Level 6 Experience Points, 95,000/200000 Badass Points, 6,500 Skills and Spells, Wind Blast, LVL2 Responsive Shield, LVL3 Environment Scanning, LVL2 Ignitia, LVL1 Lightning Dash, LVL1 Energy Devolver, LVL1 Death Range, LVL1 Occupation, Disciple of Sunrise Sect Status, Healthy Goals, Control the World Utility Function, Banker, LVL2, Ratio, 1,000 Gold Coins, 5 Badass Points, Wealth, 920,000 Gold Special Trait, 5-Star Alchemist Subordinates, Gaia. Loyalty Level 49%, Base of Operation, Sunrise Sect. Back in Michael's room, he was meditating, but there was a small smile on his face. A few hours ago, he successfully introduced his other persona to this world. He was going to make an entrance in Breedia, but Vundun, unfortunately, made himself a target of Michael, thus ending up being the fertilizer to the dark forest. Michael didn't shake Vundun's hands for anything but to place the tracking that he bought from the system for 200 badass points. The tracking dot was so tiny as Vundun didn't even feel it on his hand. When he was about to put on his new suit of armor and chase after Vundun, the system recommended he upgrade it to version 2. He thought about it and finally decided to upgrade the system because of a few reasons. The first and the important reason was the system's new functionality, the mentor function. The mentor mode enabled him to learn any spell that was not bought from the system store. The function would also improve the spell or skill's efficiency and power. The only downside for this function was, unlike the spell or skill bought from the system, he couldn't get to reach 100% mastery out of the box. The spell or skill learned through the mentor function could only reach a certain percentage of mastery, and if he wanted to reach 100% mastery, he had to practice the spell or skill often like normal people. The second reason was another new functionality, the masking function. It was the function that prevented Vundun and his group from sensing his cultivation level. However, the function could only work for 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, he had to wait for 1 hour before using it again. He liked the two reasons, but he loved the third one, which was the decrease in experience points limit to reach the next level. The system hooked him to upgrade it when it mentioned the decrease in the XP limit from 300,000 to 200,000. That meant he had to kill fewer people to reach the next level. Also, the system mentioned every time he upgrades it to the next version, there would be a huge decrease in the XP limit. After he upgraded to the next version, the system was generous to gift him one coupon that let him buy a skill or spell for free and a few items. Of course, the system limited his choices as it knew he would try to buy a legendary level spell or skill. Among the choices given by the system, he chose a skill called Death Range. The reason why he chose the skill was it perfectly complemented the fear toxin. After he activated the Death Range, anyone within a few radius from him would be terrified for some limit. The weaker they were, the more they would fear. Coupled with his fear toxin, the effects of the skill were almost doubled. That was not the only sweet thing about this skill. Within the Death Range, Michael's strength and speed would increase by 25%. That was how he crushed a few skulls like crushing an egg. The only downside of this skill was it could only be upgraded to level 3, where his strength and speed would increase by 50%. However, as far as he was concerned, a 50% boost is not a joke. To upgrade the system to version 3, he needed a whopping amount of 30,000 badass points. For now, he was happy with everything as it is. Another change he noticed after the upgrade was the system's voice. Until now, the system sounded like a robot, but now, it sounded less robotic. System, convert 450,000 gold into badass points, starting the conversion. Conversion success. The host received 2,250 badass points. The host's total badass points is 8,750. Alright, now I should have a talk with the elders and Claire. He stood up and walked towards the door. Gaia was still sleeping on the floor after inhaling chloroform. With a smile on his face, he carried her and put her on the sofa. Master Ghost, when he stepped out of his house, he saw Daniel was waiting for him with a stack of posters in his hand. Daniel, I see you got what I asked. Yes, Master Ghost. This is all the posters of wanted criminals in Breedia. We should avoid selling potions and pills. Daniel handed over the posters to Michael as he put the posters in the system's storage to use later. I also brought this, Master Ghost. Daniel retrieved a rolled parchment and gave it to Michael. The parchment on Michael's hand was a high-quality paper and had some weight to it. When he opened the parchment, Michael's brows went up in surprise because he instantly recognized the person on the poster, Gaia. The poster didn't mention Gaia's crimes or her origin, but it only had her last known location and the bounty amount. For a million gold coins and a chance to join the Morningstar sect in the Nether Realm, although he didn't quite understand the latter, he knew the value of the first. Where did you get this? At the Adventurers Guild, Master Ghost. This poster is all over the kingdom. Every sect and adventurer is searching for this girl. I thought you should see this, right this moment. Michael realized that Gaia is in real trouble now, and if she removed the mask he gave her, even he wouldn't be able to save her from being dragged back to Nagaland. Do you know who put the bounty on her? The poster only mentioned that they report any information they find about her to the Adventure Guild or any sect in the kingdom, but not a word about the person who put the bounty on her. Michael had some idea who would have put this bounty. No one knows, Master Ghost, and I didn't ask around too much because I wanted to be discreet as possible. You did great. I'll raise both of your salaries later. Now take the day off. The tiredness of traveling faded away from Daniel's face when he heard Michael. He bowed at Michael with utmost worship and joy. Thank you, Master Ghost. After this, Daniel rushed to find Ricky to share this wonderful news while Michael went back inside his house. On his way, he saw Gaia yawning and coming towards him. "Did you say you are going to raise their wages?" "Yeah," Michael chuckled inside because she had no freaking idea how deep in trouble she was. She followed him inside and saw him leisurely sitting on the new sofa he bought. "Since you are being so generous, I wanted to discuss something with you," she leaned on the wall and said. "Oh. Go ahead, you know I've been working hard and turning the Majestic into a successful business, right?" Michael nodded, controlling his urge to rub the poster on her arrogant face. "And you are also generous enough to hand over most of the coins we make to that bald fucker." She was still furious about the decision he made to keep paying Vundun. "Can you get to the point?" Michael said, "I'm not going to work my ass off to pay that fuck, Ghost. If you want me to do what I've been doing, we should discuss my share." "Sure. Come take a seat," Michael said with an honest face, like he was really going to negotiate with her. Gaia was surprised as she didn't expect him to agree just like this and wondered what's going on with him today because he was agreeing to everything since the morning. However, she was delighted to hear him agree and hopped to the sofa as a happy bunny. She sat beside him and cleared her throat to enter the negotiating mode. "Although you are somewhat good at being an alchemist, I'm the one who does all the heavy lifting, such as crowd controlling, taking the payments, customer relationship, maintaining a public relation, etc., etc. Therefore, after thinking long and hard, I came to a number that we can both agree on." He was an expert in lying because being a hitman required lying to maintain his cover, yet even he had to admit this girl's talent of speaking so shamelessly and lying with a straight face. "Maintaining public relation, my ass." Michael laughed out loud in his mind but kept his real emotions from showing up on his face. "How much are you thinking?" said Michael while Gaia took a deep breath. "I was thinking we should split the profit by 50-50. He was stunned by this shameless snake, but at the same time, he couldn't wait to see her face when he showed her the poster. Chapter 70. I thought we are friends who work together, Michael said, and put an innocent look on his face that fooled Gaia to think he was serious. Thinking he was really going to agree to her terms, she gently patted his hand and said, "Of course we are human, but favors like working for free break friendships. We can share the profit and continue to taste the fruits of our friendship. What do you say?" Michael could notice even she was trying to fight the urge to burst into laughter after shamelessly lying like this. If she was born on Earth, she would have made an excellent politician. "You're right, friends should not continue to work for free and we shouldn't owe each other anything, am I right?" Michael asked as Gaia nodded with a grin. "I will give you 50% of the profit, really? I mean, you will?" She almost screamed out loud in surprise, but she quickly regained her composure and asked. Her face brightened and she wanted to dance around in joy. "So when are you going to give the 5 million gold you owe me?" The smile froze on Gaia's face. She knitted her brows in confusion. "What 5 million? What are you talking about?" Michael retrieved the bounty poster and showed it to her with a devilish grin on his face. Gaia's hand started to tremble when her gaze fell on the poster. The reason for her reaction might be because of shock or fear, but one thing was sure, she's in deep shit. Zanali, that bitch. She tore the poster into pieces and threw it away. However, her anger turned into panic and fear when she saw the look on Michael's face. She couldn't help but swallow her saliva as she thought he's going to hand her over to them for 4 million gold. Right this moment, she wanted to punch herself for asking 50% of the profits. "Who?" "Human," she put on her best pleading face and meekly called Michael like a scared kitten. "So when are you planning to give me the 5 million gold? Isn't it 4 million? You said friends should not work for free, right? 4 million for not handing you over to Zanali and 1 million for the pills you have swallowed until now, for free." Just as he said, she leaped at him and hugged him tightly. This reaction of her surprised him, but he knew this snake was trying to use this hug as a bribe. "Forgive me for asking 50%, human. Please don't hand me over to that bitch, you know what they do to me." She was even able to conjure enough tears to wet his shoulder. Michael was having fun laughing out loud in his mind and continued to mess with this shameless snake. "But you said friends shouldn't work for free and that would break friendships." "Fuck what I said, I was just messing with you. I will never ask something like that for real." Who? She sobbed, hugging him, but what about the fruits of our friendship? He could feel her grip around his neck tighten. She continued to sob and talk. What kind of friend charges for helping a friend? Only heartless horrible fuckers would try to take advantage of their friends, so you're not going to ask for 50% of the profits? Of course not, I'm happy as it is. Just don't hand me over to them, he chuckled and hugged her back. If this snake was using this hug to her advantage, he also deserved to enjoy this hug. Alright then, I won't hand you over to Zanali. But remember, you're in deep shit. Poster like this is all over Breedia and every adventurer and wannabe disciple is searching for you. She tried to wiggle herself out of the hug but he didn't let her. You are safe only as long as you are with me. Without the mask I gave you, you are good as dead, I promise. I won't leave you human. She tried to sound truthful as she possibly could. You know how many girlfriends said this before they became exes? No offense to my female readers. It's Michael who said this. Michael's inner voice reminded him while he patted her on the back. I know you want, thank you human, now can you let me go? She tried her best to wiggle herself out but how could a mortal like her overpower someone like Michael? It feels good, doesn't it? Let me hug you for a little longer, speak for yourself, let me go, you bastard. She came back to her usual self and scolded Michael. He was chuckling while she kept punching his back. I will bite you if you don't. Let me go. After teasing her for a few more seconds, he let her go. She stood up angrily and corrected her dress while cursing him under her breath. However, her loyalty towards him increased and reached 50%. Come on, I have to meet Claire and the elders, those dumb fuckers. Tell me you killed those fuckers when I was sleeping. Michael annoyed her but Van Dun and his men made her furious. Therefore when she remembered them, she forgot all about Michael's little play with her and cursed Van Dun. I will soon but for now, they can live. When I get stronger, I will make them suffer. Seeing his honest expression, she believed him. Good, I want to burn that bald fucker's ass on fire before we kill him. Damn girl, ha ha ha. Although he didn't want to, his brain showed him the sight of Gaia burning Van Dun's butt on fire. I've done worse, she proudly said and followed him behind to meet Claire and the elders. It was almost in the evening where the entire sky was painted red with the setting sun. Looking at Michael and Gaia approaching the building where the elders and Claire were staying, a couple of female disciples came running. Brother Ghost, Sister Elia, hey you two. Michael smiled and waved at them. Are the elders and sect leader Claire inside? Yes, they are Brother Ghost. The elders just finished their lectures, the two girls said and tried to lead them inside. Where are you two coming? The grown-ups are going to the meeting. You two little things could go and do whatever you do. Gaia slapped the girls on the back and sent them away. The girls rubbed the back of their heads and ran away before they stuck their tongues out at Gaia. Do you really have to be such a bitch? What can I say? I love bossing around. Hee hee. Michael knew he can't change this snake's personality and chose to ignore her atrocities for now. Soon after he entered the building, he realized the sorry state of the sect. The broken wooden beams, mold-covered walls, ceiling with countless patches, and many things like that made him feel ashamed because this wasn't only his sect but it's also his base of operation. No wonder he didn't get any badass points from the sect yet. Wow, I feel like I stepped into another realm. Gaia's nose twitched as she frowned looking at the place. There wasn't even a proper chair for her to sit in this place. Ghost, just as they were looking around, Elder Mark came from one of the rooms. There was a hint of shame in Elder Mark's eyes and he tried to avoid direct eye contact with Michael. Elder Mark, I want to talk with all the other elders and sect leader Claire for a moment. After settling their debts and becoming a representative of the sect, Michael's authority in the sect reached the level of Claire's. His reputation among the disciples was sky high as they basically worshipped him. Therefore when Michael asked Elder Mark to set up a meeting, he nodded without asking a second question. When Elder Mark went to bring the elders and Claire, Michael turned his gaze towards Gaia. Hey, do you think you can transform this sect to look at least somewhat decent? This place is gonna mess my reputation. Yeah, no shit. My ma, your maids have a better place. That's what you were going to say, right? It's the truth. Gaia shrugged and looked around the place again before asking Michael. So you want me to fix this place? Michael nodded. Yes, I know you must have seen many sections. So, I want you to remodel this place and not only this place, the entire sect. What will the people think of me if they see the current status of the sect? As a first step of getting badass points out of his base of operation, he decided to renovate the sect, and who else would be a better person to lead the task other than his haughty assistant? He, you're right, I have seen many sects and places. I can turn this place around to suit our tastes, but it's not gonna be cheap. Money is not the problem. Let me first have a talk with the elders and Claire about my place in the sect first, then we can start turning this place around. Chapter 71. A few minutes later, Claire and the elders appeared in the hall one by one. Since he decided to focus on developing this sect to earn more badass points through it, he took a closer look at everyone before him. Elder Mark, the powerful amongst them all, looked serious and solemn. Michael could sense Elder Mark is just a few months of cultivation away from breaking through to the body-strengthening stage. After Elder Mark, Elder Reiner stood there with a wide grin on his face for no reason. He vaguely resembled Gandalf the Grey to Michael. In Michael's eyes, Elder Miles looked like a goofy, fun-loving old man and the first to get mad. Lastly, Elder Sandra quietly stood beside Claire. Even though she was sick and fighting with death every day, her composure and calm look on her face made her look like the wisest among the elders. Unlike Elder Mark, these three were at least a year of cultivation away from reaching the next stage. After taking a look at the elders, his gaze fell on Claire to get slightly surprised by her because, in less than a month, she went from body refining stage level 5 to level 7. When he met a few hours ago, he didn't try to sense her cultivation level, but now, he realized that Claire might be a prodigy in the making. Claire's face was not calm, and in fact, she was very troubled by the events that happened a few hours ago. She knew it was her fault that made Michael pay the price, literally. Her face betrayed her and revealed her internal struggle. Sect leader Claire, elders, the reason I called you everyone here is to speak about the future of the sect. You aren't leaving the sect, are you? Elder Miles jumped the gun and asked him before Michael could finish his sentence. Hearing Elder Miles, Michael shook his head and smiled. Of course not, Elder Miles, on the contrary, I'm here to talk about my position in the sect. Yes, we were just talking about that ghost. It's not fair for you to remain as an outer disciple anymore, so we decided to make you the one and only core disciple of the sect. Leaning on the wall, Gaia snickered. Usually in sects like the three big sects, a body refining stage cultivator would never get promoted to a core disciple position no matter how talented they are. Only after a disciple reaches the core formation level, they would get promoted to core disciple status. However, the Sunrise sect made Ghost a core disciple before he even reached the body strengthening stage. Looking at Elder Reiner's grin grew wide, Michael realized this was his idea. Elder Mark, I'm honored to be the core disciple, but I don't want just to be a core disciple. I want all of you to form a new position. Gaia's face lit, realizing Ghost is weaving some kind of plan to take over this sect. She likes stuff like hostile takeovers. The elders were visibly troubled when they heard him, but before anyone could raise a question at Michael, Claire opened her mouth. After all you've done for us, we are grateful to you, Ghost. So I would grant anything that's within my power, if making him the sect leader would help her sect enter the golden days. She was ready to do just that. A position called Guardian, sect leader Claire. For the outside world, it'll be a core disciple, but in secret, it'll be the Guardian. Before any of you ask, I won't put my nose into any day-to-day decision-making. Sect leader Claire is a great leader and I have no intention to share the leader chair. I only wish to partake in important stuff, like an ancestor. Elder Miles quickly asked him. When a current leader of the sect or a family decided to enter the lonely mountain or secluded cultivation, they would become an ancestor of that sect or family. All the decision-making and control of the place would go to the next head. An ancestor would only make an appearance if the sect or the family in a catastrophic disaster or to take part in the utmost important ceremonies. Not exactly, but something like that. As a guardian, they'll be around and look after the sect now and forever, so the Sunrise sect will never decline again. From now on, our sect would only move towards glory. It'll make sure of that. Sect leader, elders, are you with me on this, sect leader? Hell yeah, kid, let's do it. I'm so sick of being an elder of a declined sect. Before I die, I want to feel how it feels to be an elder of a prestigious sect. Elder Reiner laughed happily and gave his heartfelt support to Michael. I'm with Elder Reiner on this 1-inch. Elder Miles knew the potential of the youngster before them. Normally, he and Elder Reiner rarely agreed on something, but he knew that sticking with a heaven-blessed prodigy and a 5-star alchemist would never go wrong unless Michael gets killed by someone. Elder Sandra, you are the head of the elders, what's your decision on this? Instead of agreeing to Michael's request like Elder Reiner and Miles, Elder Mark turned to ask Elder Sandra. Gaia saw the old woman scanning everyone from top to bottom before landing her gaze at Claire. Sect leader Claire, I think you should be the person to have the final say on this. After all, you are the sect leader. Michael didn't worry about Claire because he knew Claire would agree to this. After this meeting, he quite liked Elder Reiner and Miles. Her beautiful blue eyes slowly blinked as she stared at Michael without saying a word. Then, she took a deep breath. If making Ghost a guardian would set our sect on the path to glory, then that's what I must do. As the current sect leader, I name you Ghost as the core disciple and the guardian of the Sunrise sect. A golden ray emerged from her hand and showered Michael before it vanished. Ding! Congratulations for the host to become the core disciple. Ding! Congratulations for the host to become the guardian. System version 2. 0 host, Michael cultivation level, body refining stage, level 6 experience points, 95,000/200000 badass points, 8750 skills and spells, wind blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignitia, LVL1 lightning dash, LVL1 energy devolver, LVL1 death range, LVL1 occupation, core disciple of Sunrise sect, the guardian of Sunrise sect status, healthy goals, control the world utility function, banker, LVL2, ratio, 1000 gold coins, 5 badass points, wealth, 470,000 gold special trait. 5-star alchemist subordinates, Gaia, loyalty level 50%, base of operation, Sunrise sect, now as a guardian. They'll clear all the debts of our sect in the coming weeks, but Ghost, Claire still seemed reluctant to put all the debt on his head. No need to worry, sect leader, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. Stop hesitating and worrying, sect leader, you should be strong and tough, I got your back. When Michael finished his words, he could see Claire standing there, staring at him blankly. She then nodded with a gentle smile. I will try to be the leader everyone expects me to be. What was that human? Great leader, my ass. She put the entire sect in trouble to save one person. She's just a naive young girl, not a great leader. Gaia threw herself on the new sofa and complained while Michael prepared to make pills and potions for his customers. He could have done this in the night, but he had plans for the night. I know, but I'm here now and this is my sect. She won't make stupid mistakes like that again in my watch, so not putting your nose into day-to-day decision-making is just a lie. She was confused as Michael smirked. When I become stronger, who do you think Claire and elders see as the head? Me. But I'm not the person to sit behind a table and manage this place. That would be Claire's job. With a little nudge in the right direction, I believe she will turn into a good sect leader. Under me, Michael continued with a smirk on his face. Gaia realized that this was his plan all along, and acting as a savior of the sect was just a facade. Yet, she still didn't completely understand why he is putting his money and efforts into making this sect great again. In her mind, he was not the kind of a guy who would do something noble without expecting something in return. Tell me the truth, human, what do you really want with this place? When you become trustworthy, I might tell you the answer. Now stop asking questions and start planning to make this place look better, or I'll take that sofa away, don't you dare. Chapter 72. In the early morning, daylight not only unwrapped the hues of Bradford but also the terror that struck the town. A dark alley that rarely saw more than 5 people hang out now had half of the town surrounding it. In front of the crowd, there were a couple of girls who wore revealing clothes to tempt the youngsters. However, no man was in the mood to enjoy the beauties as their eyes were locked on the bodies hanging on a rope between 2 buildings. Many people were afraid to look at the large puddle of blood below the dead bodies. After seeing the blood splatters and the terror on the faces of the dead ones, some people guessed that they weren't killed by a person. While the people were staring at the bodies, a girl who had perfect curves and glossy skin was looking at the nearby wall. If not for the gory scene in front of them, many men and women would drool and hope to get a glimpse of what's under her purple dress. Sister Sadie, do you think whoever or whatever killed them left behind that? The girl in the purple dress was none other than Sadie Kaplan, the core disciple of the Silver Moon and one of the judges of the last Heaven's Gate competition. Although the girl who asked the question was also a great beauty, she was overshadowed by the beauty of Sadie. If Michael was here, he would have recognized the girl as Nyla Reed, the same girl who almost got herself killed by trying to use a telepathic attack on Michael. Yes, I saw the same symbol on the scene at Sarton. What do you think it means? I don't know, but it's not my job to know. My teacher wanted to find these guys and technically I did find them. Who? Teacher Hazel? What did she want with them? Nyla pointed her finger at the hanging dead bodies and asked. Apparently these guys were harassing some of Teacher Hazel's clients and recently they took the harassment to the next level. Initially, they were a group of 20 men and when they heard the Silver Moon was searching for them, they started to run. Some of them went into hiding in Sarton and the rest of them came here only to get slaughtered by someone eviler than them. Even Sadie had a hint of fear in her eyes. She had seen many killings but this felt dark and different. These guys were given no chance to fight or even take out their weapons. Whoever killed them was quick and cruel. All of their manhoods were cut off while they were still alive yet. None of the residents nearby heard a sound. However, Sadie felt no pity for the dead ones. So in Sarton, just like here, all of them were slaughtered and hanged. Whoever killed them left no trace but this one symbol, L. What does it mean? Move away. Suddenly, someone shouted from the crowd and Sadie turned to see a soldier of Bradford bringing a dirty-robed old man. Sadie could tell the old man was obviously a beggar by the look of his ragged tunic and the stink coming from him. Miss Kaplan, this old man is claiming that he saw what happened, 6L. The man stuttered something under his breath. He was pale and shivering like he's in the middle of a snow mountain. Tell me what you told the people back there. The soldier shook the old man by his collar as Sadie waved him to stop. Old man, did you see the person who did this? Sadie asked the old man but his mouth stuttered in the horror he witnessed the night before. No. V.I.L. The old man still sounded unclear. His voice broke and the shivering wasn't any help. Nyla, the disciples of Silvermoon were very good at psychic attacks and playing with someone's mind. Nyla might have picked the wrong person to use the psychic attack but the old man in front of her wasn't a challenge. Nyla stared into the old man's eyes as his eyes glowed for a second. Following this, the old man shivered less and somewhat looked better than he was. Tell us, old man, what did you see? I saw him. The crowd didn't make a sound as everyone's focus was on the old man. Saw who? The devil. The moment these two words escaped the old man's mouth, there were several gasps from the crowd and some dropped onto their knees and started to pray. What nonsense are you spouting? Nyla had enough of this old man's mumbling but when she was about to slap some sense into the old man, Sadie stopped her. Did you see his face? Yes, the old man nodded but when he recalled the face he saw, Nyla had to use her powers to calm him again. Red eyes, worn nothing but black. Hearing the old man's description, the people trembled as he continued. He came with darkness, the whole alley turned dark. I could only see his red eyes. Mere mortals like them didn't stand a chance against him. Mere mortals? All of them were body-strengthening stage cultivators. You old fool, Nyla yelled again but the old man shook his head. We all are mere mortals in front of the devil. Save us, God. Pray to the Almighty. Save Bradford. Many people went crazy and shouted at the sky hoping God would save them from the devil. Ignoring the people, Sadie asked a few more questions to the old man, not because she wanted to find the person but her curiosity got the better of her. Did he see you? Why did he leave you alive? Again? Nyla Reed yelled and used her mind powers to calm the old man again because he started to shiver after Sadie's question. It took him longer than before to calm down. He wanted me to announce his presence even after Nyla calmed him down. The old man's voice slightly broke in overwhelming fear. Did he say something to you? The old man slowly nodded and conveyed the words of the devil to everyone. He said. The people stopped their shouting and prayers and looked at the old man with eyes full of fear and terror. He is here to claim the souls of the sinners and some of the people who committed crimes such as stealing, beating their wives, or children fainted on the spot. Because they just paved their way into the devil's hit list. However, the old man was not finished as he had few more words to tell the people. Lucifer is watching, L for Lucifer. Sadie turned her gaze towards the wall where the letter L was written on by blood. She felt a cold chill running through her spine because if he was really the devil who's here to kill the sinners, what could the people in this world do except sent to hell by the devil? She didn't even want to think about it. Take him to Baron Totonk, my task here is completed. She saw no reason to hang around here at the devil's hunting ground, so she took Nyla and left the scene. Because Nyla couldn't use a flying sword with her level of cultivation and Sadie was in the mood for horse riding to calm her nerves, both of them bought 2 horses to travel. Where to, Sister Sadie? Rivertown. I want to buy some iron ore. Following their departure from Bradford, Sadie and Nyla traveled in silence thinking about the devil the old man talked about. The huge trees on both the side of the mud road supplied them with shadow and a cool breeze to calm their minds. On their way to the river town, they saw no carriages or people. But when the outskirts of the river town was in their eyes, they also saw a trio before them. Sadie's lips curved upwards while Nyla swallowed saliva because they both recognized the person who was tiding before them. Is that who I think it is? Sadie galloped her horse to catch up with them as Nyla followed her behind. Ghost. The one who was traveling before them was none other than Michael. Sadie ignored the blonde guy on the other horse and shouted at Michael. Miss Kaplan, what a pleasant surprise. She was surprised to see him reach the body refining stage level 7 in such a short amount of time. Other than his cultivation, he looked sexier and hotter than before. Just by looking at that smile of his, she wanted to eat him up. However, unlike Michael who showed a warm smile, the girl riding behind him had rather a cold look on her face. The girl was a mortal yet she had a noble aura around her that made Sadie feel inferior to her. What's with the miss? Call me Sadie. I assume you recognize my sister here. Sadie chuckled as Nyla's face turned red in embarrassment. Hiya, Nyla. Hi, Ghost. He seemed to have completely forgotten about what happened at the competition. His smile made Nyla feel somewhat less ashamed. I heard you're a 5-star alchemist, Ghost. Why didn't you say so? Ignoring the cold look of the girl behind him, Sadie brought her horse as close to him as possible. What can I say, Sadie? I like to surprise people. Oh, you really surprised me, Sade said with a flirty smile. The blonde guy who was traveling with Michael was Jack, and seeing a beauty flirting with Ghost, Jack almost fell off his horse because he was too focused on Sade and Nyla rather than the road before him. Hi Miss Reed, I'm Jack. Chapter 73. It was the system's new feature that made Michael travel to Rivertown accompanying Jack. This new feature's purpose was to help Michael choose the right person to be his subordinate and manage his existing subordinates. Subordinate, Gaia cultivation level, none race, demi-human Naga race current skills, none status, Merdines repaired, 10% loyalty towards the host, 50% trait, warrior. The trait feature would inform him about the person Michael is considering to recruit as his subordinate by letting him know her special trait. For instance, Gaia's trait was warrior. He wouldn't be able to make her an alchemist even if he gave her the Book of Alchemy unless he changes her trait from warrior to alchemist for 500,000 badass points or adds the alchemist trait on top of her current trait for 1.5 million badass points. Michael had no plans to change Gaia's trait, and the reason for his departure from the sect was not Gaia but Jack. After an eventful night, Michael woke up in the morning to continue making pills and potions. While he was picking up the herbs from his new herbal garden, he met Jack and heard he was going to Rivertown to buy scrap metal to repair his fellow disciples' weapons. After a small chat with Jack and the sudden notification from the system, Michael realized Jack was a blacksmith. Apparently, Jack learned the trait from his uncle, and even though Jack was not an expert in forging, Michael decided to give Jack a chance before he makes any decision. He could, however, wait and depend on his luck to find a better blacksmith who is willing to be his subordinate. Nevertheless, Michael was not the person who would depend on his luck rather than seizing the opportunity in front of him. Besides, Jack was poor and weak, so earning his loyalty would be simple. All Michael had to do is pay him handsomely for his work and Jack would be as loyal as a puppy. With the help of the system, he could also improve Jack's forging skills and have his own personal blacksmith. Still, before officially making Jack his subordinate, he wanted to see Jack's skill with his own eyes. But Michael never expected to see Sadie, a remarkably hot girl on his way to Rivertown. "Nice to meet you, Jack." If it wasn't for Jack seemed like Ghost's friend, Nyla would have given him a cold shoulder. But because of Ghost, Nyla showed a polite smile and shook Jack's hand. "Ah, she shook my hand." Jack's eyes sparkled and he couldn't hold his joy. He felt like he was flying. "I'm not going to wash this hand," Jack told himself. "So will you concoct a pill or two for me?" She came so close to Michael as both of their shoulders made contact. He didn't blush or move away like a beta MC but enjoyed the company of a hot girl like Sadie. "Of course I will, you have to pay for my services of course." Gaia would have strangled him from behind if he had agreed to concoct pills for free. But hearing he would still charge her despite her seduction, Gaia calmed down. Sadie on the other hand pouted. "I thought you want charge me a coin, Ghost." Michael laughed and winked at her. "Come on Sadie, you know I like money and you don't lack gold coins. Can this sister pay you with other means? I guarantee you, it will be much better than gold coins." Her seduction skill was on the next level and any youth with a weak heart wouldn't be able to resist her charm. Even Michael was tempted to take upon her offer but he didn't want to mix business with pleasure. "I believe you but let's keep the business and pleasure apart, shall we?" "Ah, a man of principles, I like it," she moaned for a second and continued with a seductive smile on her face. With the company of 3 hot girls, Michael had a pleasant journey towards the river town until he saw the soldiers of Baron Totonk and disciples of Morningstar swarming into the city gates. "Huh? What's going on there?" Sadie threw a look of uncertainty and they rushed towards the town to see what's happening. When Michael passed through the unguarded city gates, he witnessed people screaming and running around chaotically. Sights of a couple of wrecked buildings entered his eyes. What the hell is going on here? Nyla dismounted her horse and the others did the same because the streets were full of panicking people to ride through. The people seemed to have been running from the other end of the town where Michael first met Ricky and Daniel. "Hey you!" Gaia had enough of this as she grabbed one of the men who was running for his life. "What's going on here and what are you running from?" Netherals. He broke Gaia's hold and ran like hell without turning back. Netherals? In Rivertown, Nyla, Sadie, Jack, and Gaia wondered why are the Netherals here at Rivertown while Michael wondered what the hell is a Netheral. "Hey," Michael leaned back and scratched Gaia's shoulder. "What's a Netheral?" "Seriously? Come, I'll introduce them to you." Gaia led Michael towards the danger as Nyla and Sade followed them. While he was walking against the crowd, he noticed the tavern he spent his first night became a ruin. The more he walked towards the forest on the other side of the town, he saw more disciples of the Morningstar and Golden Valley. The city gates were shut close and being barricaded by some disciples of the Golden Valley. Since there was no way to see what's happening on the other side through the gate, Michael and the group started to take the steps to stand on top of the city walls. When he was climbing the stairs, he could smell a putrid smell in the air. The air stank rotten corpses as Gaia covered her nose with her hand. What the? When he reached the top of the wall, his body went rigid, and felt a cold chill running through his spine. Zombies. In the distance, there were hundreds of humanoid figures and animals. However, their skin was arctic white and glistened in the light. Their bones were visible through the peeling skin and their maniacal eyes that burned with madness. And then, there was a yelp, a whine, and 2 cracks. The blood slurping began. One of the Netherals munched his way through a deer in no time. It was spine-chilling to watch him at work, his eyes fixed on the deer as he slobbered Rottweiler drool down his chin. Soon, the nearby zombies joined him to feast on the deer. Zombies? Is that what you called them where you came from? Sadie asked Michael. He had never expected to see zombies in this world and suddenly felt like he was transmigrated into a world of Walking Dead. It took him a couple of seconds to take his gaze away from the army of zombies in the distance ready to swarm Rivertown. Where in the hell they came from? Michael didn't fear many things in the world, but in front of an army of zombies, he began to fear. The host does not need to worry much. You won't turn into a zombie if they bite you. Netherals are just corpses reanimated by a dark power, what System just said calmed his nerves as he took a closer look at the zombies. Gaia noticed his serious expression changing as he began to grin. Nether realm, Gaia was interrupted by Sadie. Sadie's interruption infuriated Gaia because it was her place to explain things to Michael. She didn't like being replaced, especially by Sadie. Every 3 years, the layer between our world and the Nether realm gets weakened. All the great cultivators in our world use this time to open a rift to Nether realm so the younger generation could enter and gain experience as well as get some treasures from the Nether realm if they are lucky. During this time, some Netherals would be able to pass through the layer and come to our world, but not this many. It's because someone is using dark magic to summon them. A voice filled with arrogance sounded as they turned back in the direction of the voice to see Victoria walking towards them with her followers. When he met her at the competition, she was a body refining stage level 8 cultivator, but now she was at the body refining stage level 10. Despite her defeat at the competition, she now looked more arrogant and cold. However, her cold expressions changed suddenly when she saw the face of the youth near Sadie. "You," the words he spoke to humiliate her, and the sight of her scent flying from the stage flashed across her eyes. In her eyes full of anger, there was also a hint of shock because compared to the jump in his cultivation level, her accomplishment was nothing. He was able to defeat her without breaking a sweat when he was just at the body refining stage level 1, but now, he reached level 7, only 3 levels below her. Standing behind Michael, Gaia pretended to control her urge to laugh at Victoria to fan her anger and mess with her mind. Michael on the other hand didn't even take more than a second to acknowledge her presence as he started to count the zombies happily. The reason for his joy was he sensed the zombies have a cultivation level and that meant he would get experience points by killing them. A moment ago, the Netherals freaked him out. However, now, they were not walking dead but walking experience points waiting to get slaughtered. Chapter 74, Calm Down Victoria. Another voice sounded at the scene and Gaia noticed Evan, the other one who Ghost defeated at the finals. However, unlike Victoria, he had a warm smile on his face and seemed more approachable than his rival. "Nice to see again, Ghost." Evan reached out his hand and surprised Michael with this gesture. Likewise, well, if Evan was chill about what happened before, he wasn't going to hang on to it as he shook his hand with a gentle smile. "Our scouts informed us that the sorcerer who is summoning them is at the ruins in the forest. Brother Alex and sister Selena are currently on their way to apprehend the sorcerer. We should all go and help them because they need our help. I think I stay here and take care of the problem in front of us. Why would he help that arrogant bitch and her boyfriend wasting his time and efforts? Besides, if Alex, a core formation cultivator, was searching for the sorcerer had to be at the core formation stage too. With his current strength, he was far from defeating a core formation stage cultivator unless he took a risk depending on his luck and the system. But taking risks and depending on luck was not something he would do, especially not when he could harvest experience points like crazy. His answer slightly surprised Evan as he expected Ghost to go hunt down the sorcerer who was the root of all the problem rather than stay here and kill the Netherals. "Our senior Adam is on his way too, and with him, the sorcerer is as good as dead," Victoria snickered as Evan looked at Sadie. "What about you, Sister Sadie, will you come with us?" Sadie stared at both Michael and Evan for a moment before letting him know her answer. "Nah, Alex and Selena have all the backup they need. I stay here and keep the Netherals at bay." Most of the Silvermoon disciples practiced and excelled in psychic spells and mind-controlling techniques. These were their main weapons in their arsenal when it comes to battle. Sadie was not an exception to this, and she knew her strengths and weaknesses well. That was why she chose not to go chasing the sorcerer, because the sorcerer who was summoning the Netherals must have stronger Netherals around him. Since Netherals had no consciousness or living brain, none of her mind-controlling techniques would work on them. Therefore, she chose to remain on the top of the wall where it's relatively safe, and when the time comes, she decided to slip away. "Everyone from Golden Valley, stay here and keep the Netherals at bay if they choose to attack the town. If push comes to shove, kill as many Netherals as you can and collect their cores," one of the girls who was standing behind Victoria ordered Golden Valley disciples. Michael hid his irritation from showing on his face as he didn't want to share the kills with anyone else. The more Netherals the disciples kill, the more XP he would lose. "My fellow brothers and sisters from Morningstar, your priority is to keep the town safe from the Netherals. Do not go provoke the Netheral army standing outside. We must hold them until our senior Alex and sister Selena apprehend the sorcerer who is summoning them." While the disciples from Golden Valley and Morningstar were taking orders from Victoria and Evan, Michael planned to make the most out of this chaos. "Elia, come with me for a sec." Michael took Gaia and stepped away from the prying eyes for a moment. "If you want anything, why don't you ask your new friend, that bitch over there?" Before even Michael could say anything, Gaia cursed Sadie. "This is no time for temper tantrums, you jealous snake," Michael said with a low-pitched voice and knocked her on the head. "Ah!" Michael covered her mouth before she could cry out loud as she rubbed her head where Michael knocked. "Now listen, do you know how to handle a bow?" Michael's hand was still covering her mouth so he could only hear her muffled answer. He took his hand back, ignoring Gaia's scowl. "Are you any good?" Considering his subordinates' killings also would give him XP, he planned to put the Legolas bow in Gaia's hand and double the killing. Hearing Michael's question, she didn't answer him but took 2 little stones from the ground. Under his gaze, she threw one stone high into the air, and while the stone was in mid-air, she hit the stone with the second stone with deadly accuracy. Even Michael couldn't stop his brows from arching up in surprise. Despite the height and the wind strength, she was able to hit the stone with another stone with perfect precision. As the Earth's best assassin, he knew how difficult the feat was and acknowledged her talent. Initially, he was just hoping for her to kill some Netherals with the bow, but now he realized he has a female Legolas with him. He didn't worry about her cultivation level because she could stay on the wall and hit the Netherals in their head to kill them without stepping on the battlefield. "Is that answered your question?" "If it didn't, put a fruit upon your head and stand there," she said, like she really wants him to do that, but he sighed and retrieved the bow from his storage. The rather ordinary-looking bow may have gone unnoticed in others' eyes, but the moment she saw the bow, she recognized its capability and value. "Does the host wish to give the bow to subordinate Gaia?" Yes, the bow came with the quiver but not with arrows. The system already prompted him to buy 100 arrows for 1,000 badass points. Except Michael decided not to spend 1,000 badass points for something that he could buy using gold coins. Not bad for an uncommon bow. "Where did you get it?" She examined the bow and said. Every weapon and spell in this world was categorized into 5 types: common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. The Legolas bow was actually a rare weapon, but Michael purposefully made it release an energy signature of an uncommon weapon as he didn't want to attract many eyes towards the bow. "In a ruin, you didn't find any arrows with it?" "I saw a blacksmith store on the way. He was packing his bags, so we can probably buy what we need for a cheap price." "Yeah, he would be grateful to unload anything before running away from this place." Jack was busy using Ghosts Association to try his luck with every beautiful girl he saw. When he heard Michael's voice, he immediately stopped flirting and came running to him. Sadie, Evan, Victoria, and everyone wondered what was Ghost planning, but Evan and Victoria were busy organizing the team to go into the forest as a backup to Alex, Selena, and Adam. "Brother Ghost, I need you to go to that blacksmith we saw on the way and buy something for me." Michael retrieved a pouch of coins and threw it at Jack. Buy all the iron-headed arrows with red eagle feathers. Gaia knew her arrows, and in this case, the iron-headed arrows were more effective on the Netherals than the normal arrows. "All of them?" "Yeah, all of them, you little shit." She slapped him on the back of his head and said. "And buy 2 of the best swords he got." After Jack ran away to buy everything they needed, Mitchie gave the Mark III grappling hook to Gaia and joined back with Sadie. "Isn't it dangerous for her to fight the Netherals?" Gaia wanted to give Sade an answer in her way, but Michael's stern look stopped her from opening her mouth. "You have no idea what she's capable of." Gaia's face was full of haughtiness and appreciated Ghost's vote of confidence. With the Mark III grappling hook, she could reach the trees outside the city walls and rain arrows of death on the Netherals from a higher vantage point. "System, I wish to learn the dual wielding of swords." He finally used the card he got from the gift box he got after killing the assassins. As usual, an acute pain appeared in his brain, and after a few moments when the pain disappeared, he achieved 70% mastery in swordsmanship. He could further increase the power of his sword skills by learning spells and techniques associated with swords, but his current state was enough to slaughter these mindless Netherals. Why aren't they attacking? Evan wondered and spoke what's in everyone's mind. Michael also noticed this. The Netherals were standing and munching on some poor animals of the forest, but they didn't move forward towards the river town. It doesn't matter why. What matters is stopping the sorcerer, Victoria said, and prepared to leave the place to join Adam while Jack returned carrying 2 bags. Brother Ghost, Sister Elia, Jack handed over one bag to Michael and the other to Gaia. Not the best, but it'll do, Gaia commented about the arrows and put them into her quiver as Michael opened his bag to see 2 ordinary-looking broadswords. They were nothing fancy but common swords made of steel. Since he liked the black color, he approved the black hilts of the swords. The sight of him swinging the swords raised Sadie's heartbeat and put a slight redness on her cheek. Evan preferred to use a spear and focused on mastering the spear, but Victoria was a swordswoman, so she was surprised and shocked at the same time. Is he a swordsman? Victoria thought, but her train of thought was interrupted by Sadie's shout. What are you doing? Michael was standing on the edge of the wall with a sword in each hand. Starting the party. As these words left his mouth, Sadie saw him throwing his swords up in the air and jumping down, startling everyone on the wall. Chapter 75. The fall was deep, but using the arch energy, he landed with the iconic Iron Man pose. When he stood up, the 2 swords he threw up in the air landed on his hands with the perfect timing. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 100 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 150 badass points. The beep sound of the system ran continuously in his mind and put a grin on his face. He realized what he just made impressed many disciples and couldn't wait to reap the benefits of this opportunity in front of him. He wanted to thank the sorcerer for summoning an army of Netherals, as now he could not only earn XP but also precious badass points. With the responsive shield and healing potions in the storage, he started to walk towards the army of Netherals fearlessly. What the hell is he doing? Sadie shouted, what does it look like? He's going to send those all-damned creatures back to hell where they belong. Even though his intention was obvious at this point, Gaia's answer still startled many. Humph, they are going to feast on him before he could even kill 5 or 6 Netheral, Victoria sneered, and she couldn't wait to see the Netherals tear him apart. If he had a brain, he would have brought backup, real backup rather than a mortal with a bow. Jack felt a cold chill running through his spine because he knew how nasty Elia could be when someone pisses her off. When he saw her lowering the bow, he swallowed a mouthful of saliva looking at the disciples of Golden Valley behind Victoria. You dumb bitch. While you were planning to go as a backup and suck up your senior, he just made you all his backup. You just don't realize that. Gaia didn't hold back her voice and yelled at her in front of all the disciples. You. Victoria's face turned red like a ripped tomato in anger, and what made her even furious was the mortal girl was right. If Michael's attack on the Netherals made them rush towards the city walls, they had to protect the town with all their strength because they were righteous sects and couldn't let Netherals cross the river town into the kingdom. What, you? Are you going to bully a mortal girl like me? If you bitch dare touch a hair on my head, my friend there would beat the living shit out of you. He won't go easy on you because you're a bitch. Gaia had 3 reasons to speak so boldly without getting her ass kicked. 1. She really believed Ghost would come in time to save her from Victoria. 2nd, even if he didn't, she had a weapon that could fire an arrow before Victoria could cast a spell. Victoria was still at the body refining stage, and that meant her body was not completely strengthened yet. If Gaia were to fire an arrow through Victoria's heart or any vital organs in her body, she would still die, no matter whether Gaia was a mortal or not. The final reason for her boldness was Sadie. Gaia didn't like Sadie a bit, but she knew Sadie would cover for her to stay on Ghost's good side. How dare she talk to our sister like that? The audacity. Insolence. Look over there. While the Gaia shocked everyone on the wall, someone shouted as they turned their gaze towards Michael and the Netherals. Sensing the upcoming threat, a few Netherals started to move towards Michael. Ignitia. When they came into the range of Ignitia, Michael sent several bolts of lightning towards the Netherals and killed them on the spot. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a body refining stage, level 4 netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 100 badass points. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage, level 6 netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage, level 7 netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 100 badass points. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage, level 8 netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. Although he killed netherils at various cultivation levels, he got the same XP for every netheril. He wanted to enter the system and asked it about this, but the system answered him before he could open up the system interface. Netherils are mindless creatures that don't use any strategies or tactics. Therefore they can't be compared to living cultivators, hence, the host won't get the usual amount of experience points, but, be grateful host. You're at least getting some experience points and badass points. After getting upgraded, the system became more egotistic. He was not in the place or mood to debate an unwinnable argument with the system as he continued to slaughter the netherils. Lightning Dash, considering the disciples would soon join the fight and he wouldn't get as much XP as he thought, he decided to kill as many netherils as he could and as fast as he could. Whoosh! 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 Just as he was slashing the heads of the netherils, a bunch of arrows brushed past him, piercing through the netherils' heads. The arrows went straight through right between their eyes. He never used to have someone watching his back in the field, as even Pink never actually came into the field but remained somewhere else and provided him information through the earbud. He felt like he could get used to this unfamiliar feeling of having someone watching his back. The two of them wreaked havoc among the netheril army and finally pissed off the entire army to rush towards the city walls. Golden Valley attack. Brothers and sisters, show them what you got. Following the battle cries of Victoria and Evan, all the disciples who had the guts to face the netherils jumped out of the wall and rushed towards the approaching army of netherils. Many may have on the battlefield, but everyone's eyes were fixed on only three: Evan, Victoria, and Ghost. It was a rare sight to see the superstars of the younger generation fighting together against a common enemy. Michael made sure most of their focus is on him by drawing their attention using bolts of lightning and his fancy dual-wielding sword skill. Where did he learn to fight like that? Without Michael's knowledge, he astounded and drew Victoria's attention towards him. She was studying under one of the best sword masters in the kingdom, but she still was not at the point of using two swords simultaneously. One needed absolute concentration and talent to reach Ghost's level, and Victoria became shocked at his level of mastery in swordsmanship. On the wall, Gaia was raining arrows on the netherils with deadly precision, and every arrow fired from her bow put down a netheril or two. Nyla and a few other disciples of Silvermoon stared at Gaia like they were going to eat her. Even Sadie felt fascinated by this mortal girl, but her eyes were glued to Michael. Every time he cleaved netheril heads, her heart would pound against her chest, and experience tingling sensations in her body. If he wasn't fighting the stinking netherils, she would have surrendered to her feelings and joined him for some action. More and more netherils appeared from the forest to make everyone worse. However, only Michael felt excited to see more and more netherils. In front of the huge number of netherils like this, even Victoria and Evan struggled to keep them from getting injured by the netherils. It was difficult, especially for Victoria, because her concentration was being messed up by Michael's cool sword skills. Jealousy and shock prevented her from fighting with her best. Victoria. Fighting on the other side, Evan noticed Victoria's struggle, but before he could do anything, one of the netherils punched her on the chest. Cough. Although her armor absorbed most of the force and saved her organs inside, she still pushed away several steps backward and spurted out blood. He, one less annoying bitch in this world. Compared to Evan, Michael was closer to Victoria and saw everything that happened just now and had a chuckle over it. Get away from her. Just when the netherils were about to take a chunk of Victoria, the huge white tiger appeared behind Evan. The white tiger made of Evan's arch-energy crushed every single netheril on its way to Victoria and blasted away the netherils that surrounded her. What the fuck is he doing? Michael was annoyed by this saving the damsel in distress act of Evan. They were supposed to hate each other, but Michael realized the haters may have just turned into lovers. Love is the only thing that can turn an enemy into a friend. Michael gritted his teeth and recalled the saying back on Earth. He then settled his frustration on the netherils in front of him by cutting them in halves. Fuck you, love. Chapter 76, I had it under control. Victoria's pride didn't allow her to say thank you to Evan for saving her from the netheril attack. Instead, she yelled at Evan. Meanwhile, on Michael's side, many disciples fighting beside him had a face full of alarm and shock, looking at the detached head spinning through the air as the bodies of the netheril spasmed, spaying dark goo. At this moment he had easily killed a bunch of body strengthening and body refinish stage netherils without taking a single scratch, allowing himself to feel more confident about his strength. Michael quickly collected the fist-sized red cores of the netherils he killed before anyone could put their hands on them. Not that someone would stop him, he didn't touch the cores of the others. Having Michael around seemed like a blessing to many disciples because they didn't have to fight the stronger netherils but only the foundation stage netherils. He focused and targeted mostly on the body strengthening and body refining stage netherils. Fuck you, you and you. Die, you evil sons of bitches. On the wall, Gaia was screaming excitedly and killing the netherils with her new bow. Sister Elia, is cursing them really necessary? Some disciples who decided to stay behind now kept staring at Jack and Gaia because of her swearing. Jack felt very uncomfortable looking at all the prying eyes on him. Shut up, you little shit. Only because she was busy with killing the netherils, she forgot to slap the back of his head as usual, but Jack's hand instinctively went to cover his head. Hey, you all want to see something cool? Sadie and the others focus on Michael, momentarily halted by Gaia's shout. All the eyes were now on Gaia as she knocked 3 arrows on the bowstring and turned her head away from the battlefield. Whoosh! 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 She released the arrows without looking at the battlefield. Including Sadie, they all followed the trajectory of the 3 arrows she fired, and their eyes went wide in surprise when all the 3 arrows pierced the heads of 3 netherils accurately. That was so hot. Now I understand why Ghost keeps her around. That girl is really not normal. If Michael was here, he would have knocked her again on the head for showing off, but he was busy on a killing spree and had 0 clues about Gaia's display of archery. Sister Elia, where did you learn to shoot like that? After seeing all the shocked faces of the other disciples, Jack felt proud to stand beside her even though she yelled at him and thrashed him on a regular basis. I taught myself. Many refused to believe her answer and thought she was lying, but it was really the truth. Ever since Gaia was little, Zanali got most of the attention and love from everyone in the castle, so Gaia learned to depend on herself rather than on anyone else. Among many other reasons, lack of love and attention from her father and the death of her mother were the main issues that turned Gaia into a cold, overbearing person. Zanali's mother always views her daughter as the next queen and Gaia as the glorious gift that could be married off to some prince in exchange for an alliance between 2 kingdoms. Because of that, she brought teachers to teach Zanali the arts of war and rule while nagging Gaia to learn knitting, cooking, and many other chores to satisfy her future husband and his family. To avoid a fight with Zanali's mother and learn what she liked, she went on many adventures and honed her skills. Back on the battlefield, Michael continued to slaughter the netherils. The badass points he was earning began to decrease as he was killing them for some time. He noticed this but cared little because his sole focus was to get as much as XP to reach the next cultivation level. He deliberately told the system not to consume the experience points to break through because many would become suspicious if he broke through on the battlefield just by killing the netherils. He knew it would be badass to break through now, but it may or may not bring some unwanted trouble to his doorstep, wondering what kind of cultivation technique he was using. Oh! A shriek of howls suddenly ran out from the forest as the netherils stopped moving. Puff! 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 Following the howl and the netherils stopped moving, they all started to vanish into thin air. Hey, come back, I'm not done with you. The disciples around Michael almost spurted out blood in shock and anger when they heard him. Everyone was sighing in relief, but not him. He was yelling at the disappearing netherils and calling them back. Evan and Victoria also speechless as they turned back to leave the battlefield. Victoria suffered some internal damage and scratches while Evan also sustained some minor injuries. Initially, they wanted to go chasing the sorcerer, but now, they needed rest and healing potions. Many disciples were not as lucky as Evan and Victoria. After the netherals disappeared, the battlefield was filled with groaning and cries of pain. Few had lost their friends, their limbs, or at least a chunk of flesh from their bodies. Most of them blamed Ghost for starting this battle with the netherals in the first place for their losses. However, as far as Michael was concerned, it was normal to suffer or lose one's life in a battle, and if they valued their lives very dear, they should have stayed back instead of following Evan and Victoria to battle. Go bring me a table and chair quickly. While they were coming back from the battlefield, Gaia hatched a plan to turn their sufferings into gold. Why? Plop. Since she was not firing arrows, Jack received a slap from her as usual. Ah. I'm going. Jack ran off to find her a chair and a table immediately after receiving a slap to the back of his head. On his way back to the wall, Michael put his swords in the system storage and used the wind blast after lowering its power so he wouldn't blast himself. Woof. Still, the wind blast was powerful enough to let out a muffled blast sound and clean all the bits and pieces of the netherals from his clothes. He then circulated the arch energy around his body and his clothes to remove the stink. I need a bath, but it'll do for now, Michael said to himself, and lightning dashed towards the wall, leaving a trail of dust and a few cracks of lightning. The disciples from the other side of the wall opened the city gates for everyone. What? Ha! Wow, finally something good came out today. As Michael ran past the girls, they had to quickly stop their skirts from soaring up due to his speed. Now some male disciples who stayed behind blamed Michael less after feasting their eyes on milky white legs of some of the beauties. When Michael halted his steps, he saw Gaia was sitting on a chair behind a table. What are you doing? What took you so long? Come on, give me all the healing potions you got. Both Michael and Gaia let out an evil grin as Michael put a bunch of healing potions on the table without asking a question. Listen up, everyone. Gaia's shout drew the attention of everyone, including Evan and Victoria, who were applying healing oils on themselves. Why didn't they buy my healing potions in the first place? What is that crap on their hands? Michael questioned himself, looking at the low-quality healing oils in Evan and Victoria's hands. In reality, they were not at all low quality, as they were 60% pure healing oils, yet compared to Michael's 80% pure healing potions, they were indeed low quality in his eyes. HRRGGRR, Gaia cleared her throat and spoke. Did you suffer a life-threatening wound? Are you afraid of the wounds turning into ugly scars? She sounded like the salesperson on the TV ads for Michael. Do you want to feel less pain? Or do you simply want that chunk of flesh you lost to a netheral? She paused for a moment as all the eyes were now fixed on Gaia. She winked at Michael and continued her sales pitch. Worry no more, you have the Majestic's healing potion with 80% purity. The first lucky 50 buyers will get a 20% discount on the price. She scheme momentarily shocked all the onlookers. For a second, Michael and Gaia seemed like two human-sized vultures in their eyes. Michael stood there laughing inside when he saw a Morningstar disciple who had a chunk of meat missing from his shoulder walking towards them. The disciple's skin was pale because of the blood loss, and one could see the shoulder bone through his wound. How much? Looking at the space ring on his finger and the expensive diamond chain on his neck, both Michael and Gaia realized he is rich. Oh, wonderful, the first customer. Gaia greeted him with a foxy smile. Following the injured disciple, many gathered around and behind him to buy the healing potions because all of them suffered some injury from the netheral attack. They all wanted to be the first 50 customers to get the sweet 20% discount. However, what they heard next almost made them faint on the spot. 9,000 gold coins only. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.